Howdy, folks. Welcome to Adventures in Alberon, our 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons campaign. I'm Joe Treff, your Dungeon Master, and joining me as always, we have Matt, Miles, Allie, and Tina. This is episode 27, which is called, at least for now, Broken Wings. Broken Birds. A couple quick things. So we have a whole bunch of things in our store right now. We have the Alberon RPG logo shirt. We have the Finger Gang logo shirt and sweatshirts and a whole bunch of other things. You can see right down there. We have a sticker that's actually out and pretty cool. We also have... that's not even official yet. Well, we have Instagram and Twitter accounts. Definitely check those out if you can, at Alberon RPG. We are using Sirenscape for all of our music. We have new speakers, which we're playing around with. So if you have feedback for the sound, that would be great. Last week, we did not have a regularly scheduled episode of Adventures in Alberon. Instead, we ran a one-shot for Valentine's Day, technically, called the Dark Meadow Heartbreaker. So check it out. It's on Twitch for, I think, the next 14 days. And then it's going to go to YouTube, but probably be for subscribers only. We're going to figure that out once we get there. And then finally, if you have questions about, or not finally, second to finally, if you have questions about anything Alberon RPG related, the content, the story, the people, you can email us at cast@alberonrpg.com. Speaking of which, the final announcement is that alberonrpg.com, which has been our website and fairly tepid and not very well updated, which is my fault. We've now decided to use it in a little bit of a different way. So if you go to alberonrpg.com, it will bring you to the Alberon wiki, which is going to be how we release lore that all of you guys get. And slowly it will get filled in. First of all, I have a lot of catching up to do since we've been going for almost a year. But we're going to get there, and we're going to continue to add stuff as you guys find it. So it's very much going to be a reflection of the world as you guys uncover it. Obviously, you guys following at home, feel free to edit things in or as it is, I can revert it back. So, so that's really cool. Really excited about that. If you go and check it out right now, there is like a weird security certificate thing that I have to figure out, but it is live now. So check it out. And I wanted to say hi to Dicey Encounters for joining. I know you've been away for a little bit. Great to have you back. If you need the coolest dice that you can get, definitely check out Dicey Encounters. We all have custom sets of them. I use mine every single session that is not a one-shot because I don't want to give them bad luck, which is what I always have on one-shots. But other than that, we can get right into our recap. So let me switch over our song. Nice little fade out. All right. When we last played, you know what? There we go. When we last played, you guys finally left the town of Smuggler's Dug, receiving an actual hero's send-off for the first time, probably in the Finger Gang's career. Actually, I think this is the first time you guys have left a town that is not Port Quinn, not sought out by the law in some manner or other. The word hero was thrown around. You guys traveled through an archway in a tree created by Laura, the Furbolg druid that you guys had met, who had been guarding the town of Smuggler's Dug, bringing you to the base of the Yishi Mountain, or to the plateau of the Yishi Mountain, through which you could pick your way across a large, sort of scaled or sheer mountain face with snow suspended above you in a very, very avalanche-prone scenario with Gunter in tow. Certainly a dangerous situation. Despite one failure, you guys did make it across with relatively little issue, thanks to a lot of acrobatics happening on actually both of your sides. A little less successful with Morwen.
Can't win them all.
But you guys made your way across a cliff face, and you arrived at the Steps of Triumph. Heinrich, you were able to sort of uncover the Zinni writing as you progressed. Actually a little bit frustrating because this brand new language suddenly just shifting out of what you're able to see. But reading the story that tells the tale of the very first ascent of Triumph and up to Squall's End, and a little bit of history, which is actually on the wiki. Finally, after traveling for nearly a week, you guys reach Squall's End, the home of Shay and the Zinni monks. You guys separated initially, Gunter, Morin, and Heinrich heading to the Frostmare Inn, meeting Xanifer, the tiefling keeper of this place, who seems not to be terribly thrilled with all of the tenants of the Zinni, and did accept gold from you, which is sort of unheard of in this town. And finally, Shay, you went to Era. Mm-hmm. There you learned a number of things.
So did.
You learned that the monastic order that had brought you in and given you a new lease on life had splintered. And worse than that, that the person leading the Ninth Path, this separatist movement, was none other than Crick, sort of your mentor. If Era's your mother, Crick would be your father. Taking with him most of the martial kind of minded monks, and leaving the mystics and some of the artisans left around Squall's End, around the Zinni Monastery. Even worse, you learned that Jeruxa, Era's father, a man who, for as long as you know and for as long as the Zinni know, nearly 400 years, more than 400 years at this point, hadn't ever really been mad. Mm-hmm. Era had placed that curse upon him to trap what turns out to be a very powerful evil. You've heard of Uriel's Watch coming from the north. You've heard of actually a large band of refugees, including Era, including Jeruxa. And it may be that the events in the north are entirely caused by Master Jeruxa, who is currently missing. The listener has taken refuge in his quarters. It is a little bit of a dire circumstance, but as it is midnight, you and Era parted ways, and you now, Shay, find yourself out in the sort of court, in the mystic area of this monastery. I would say at the moment it's close to like 12:30 at night. Snow is now softly falling, not a storm, you can still see stars in the sky, but around you it is very quiet, and you can see in this courtyard sort of the various points that make up, in kind of a way reminiscent of the various schools of magic, although it's not truly separated out that way. But you don't see anybody. It is quiet. And even for the Zinni Monastery, which at night is a very peaceful place, you find that it is unnaturally quiet. But be that as it may, it is about 12:30, and you remember that your friends are back at the Frostmare Inn. What do you want to do?
I'm going to go home. I'll meet up with them in the morning.
Okay. So you begin to walk, and you walk through the Court of Mystics. You move over to the area that you would know as the... forgot this already. The Zaggerot Cluster. The area that is sort of a neighborhood, partially a street. But within Squall's End, there aren't necessarily streets or avenues. It is a little bit more ramshackle, although viewed from the top, there is certainly an organization to it. You come to the end of the road that leads from the thoroughfare, the main road that goes from the monastery across the bridge, and then through the day market and around, and you find your house. Looking for a moment to the left and seeing Krodnik's house. Dark, and uncharacteristically, you see in the upper tier of this house a little bit taller than most, sort of for preferences for the flighted races. You would normally see a silhouette of him even sleeping within that second floor. You don't see him. But turning to the right through the freshly fallen snow, you do find your house. Exactly as you left it. Even through the darkened windows, with the faint bit of moon and stars, you can see a rack of weapons up against the wall. A little bit of dust sort of taking the edge off of the shine that this fine metal would have normally had. You see the fireplace fairly clean within the center. Without looking around too much, you wouldn't be able to see much more beyond that, but it seems exactly as you left it.
Can I go to bed?
Okay. You open the door, it's unlocked, as are all doors within Squall's End.
There are no locks.
Yeah. You come in, and you, looking around, You can see that there is a lantern exactly as you left it, still somewhat full, although you can see the oil is separated because you have not been back in some time. You can see across, beyond the fireplace, there is a very simple, almost pallet-like bed, although the quality of the sheets and the pillows upon them are certainly fine. Definitely of Zinni make. And you find rest. For the first time in a familiar bed in a very, very long time. Meanwhile, the three of you make your... Oh, let me change the music because it's a little different mood here. Alrighty here. So, let's I gotta zero that out. Gunter, Heinrich, and Morwen. You guys are within the Frostmare Inn. You've just interacted with... Wow, that's loud.
Whoa.
You've just interacted with Xanifer, this tiefling innkeeper, who did not get along very well with Gunter, calling him a clown for the finery that Gunter is wearing. Granted, this finery includes teal and purple and orange, and it puffs out in odd ways, and elements of it come clearly from things that are not sized for a dwarf.
I would argue that Gunter didn't get along with him. I feel like he was just observing
He
something, and you...
insulted Thistle's fineries.
And so you guys make your way up. I believe you have the key. And so matching...
Do I?
Yeah, you did.
I did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you look at it, and there is...
And I was
sort
like
of-
guiding Gunter up behind.
Yeah.
Ah.
And there is on the end of the key the face of an owl.
Right.
And you look and you can see there's like a badger, and you walk a little bit further and you can see there is this very odd looking bird standing straight up, almost like it's wearing a tuxedo. And then next to that you can see the wide eyes and the tiny beak of an owl.
Were you describing a penguin?
I was.
Cute.
Mormon does not know what a penguin is.
But I do. I open the door.
Okay. You unlock this, and the lock is... You're a thief. You've picked many locks. You imagine that this key is mostly for show. These locks seem to be of very poor quality. But as you unlock the door and pull it open, you can see beyond it, very, very simple. There are 2 beds. There are 2 sort of dressers, although the drawers have been removed, so they're really just kind of like short bookcases. And then at the end of the bed on the left, you can see there's a big trunk. And you would imagine, looking at the key you have, it probably fits that as well. So doubling as sort of like a safety locker and a room key.
I open Seafoot locker.
Okay. It's unlocked. And so you open it, and it's just an empty box.
I get in the box.
Okay. You walk in and kind of... You have to bend a little bit to fit. It's not a terribly large space.
It's a pretty, like, Maru situation.
Yeah, but
Right.
you're a tabaxi. You're pretty flexible, and without too much trouble, you just kind of make a little circle, and it's tight. You have to kind of shuffle around, but you do come to rest within this box. And it's like... Is it like one of those cat things where your head's up and your tail's up, but it's just like a...
No, I'm just getting in it, and then I'm
Okay.
hopping right back out.
Great.
I just want to make a point that I can fit in it.
Yep, and you mostly can.
I get out of the box.
Okay. So, what are you guys doing? It's probably about 12:30 at night.
Having seen that, I'm like, oh.
Yeah,
Comfy
I'm
already.
pretty pooped. I think we should all head to bed right away, get some sleep.
Yes, you guys should do that. And I'll
Yes.
just kind of, like, stand by the
yes.
door.
Heinrich, help me! And then I'm going to start trying
Well,
to
I
push
mean,
the
I'm
bed
coming-
next to his bed, so there's 2 big beds.
No joke. I'm coming right off of helping you upstairs, seeing you were about to go off on this guy. So I am standing in front of the door.
As you guys are having
I
this
close the
conversation-
door and I'm like, yeah, you guys should get some rest. I'll keep watch. And I let the interpretation of that be up to Gunter as I look directly at him saying that.
And as Gunter kind of squints at you and you see that, you hear this, and you look over and Morwen's just pushing the beds together. But yeah.
Why don't you go give our friend a hand?
Yeah, help me out! Come on, we gotta get comfy.
You could
I'm
do it as
tired.
aggressively as you want. Take your anger out on that bed.
Let's get that bed moved.
Between the 2 of you, you push the beds together without issue. And there is, like, on Gunter's side, like a
Yeah.
as they kind of slam together with a very, very poorly disguised rage. But you guys now have a very large bed.
Great.
I'm gonna...
Well. Let me think.
I was
I
gonna...
guess after you.
I'm gonna just start
are you-
doing
are you
some
trying to go to
stretches.
bed right now?
I'm gonna start doing some stretches in the background just because, like, we just
Here.
climbed a mountain.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
for sure.
pop open
We
one
just
of
fucking
my...
climbed a mountain.
Are there no windows or anything?
Yeah, there's 2 windows. You have one on what is the western wall and one on the northern wall.
Like, my way over to the window.
Okay.
I'm gonna be like, wait, and then I'm gonna open up one of my bottles of wine. And try
Okay,
to-
so as you're kind of walking over to the window, thinking with Gunter's mind about how you might produce revenge upon the person below you, suddenly you hear this, and looking over, you can see Morwen has now popped open this bottle of wine.
Ah, yes. Good idea.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like look out the window, try to see is there like an awning right below the window or anything?
Not
or...
right below the window. You're only 2 stories up. It's
Okay.
not a terribly long fall.
Okay.
You can see the closest thing to you would be there's 3 barrels going along.
Just gonna jump out in front of me.
There's 3 barrels that go along sort of this footpath. It's not necessarily like stoned and set up, but it is clear of snow. Although there's like light snow now falling.
Okay. Cool.
Did you open the window?
No.
Oh, okay, cool.
I do have my ring of warmth on.
You do.
Okay. So I do open the window. I'm like, it's a bit stuffy in here.
It's freezing.
So-
I throw a winter coat.
Interesting
at you.
point of order. The window does not open.
Ah.
I was just about to ready mage.
So looking at this, you can see that it has been designed so that the actual
like
frame and glass
Dad in
would
the
push
front
in
seat
from
with
the
like
outside.
all 4 window controls.
There's no. It's designed not to open, and
I think that's
something
my
about the
favorite thing to do
coldness
with
of this
kids.
area and just the pure white that people sometimes travel through to get here. The north can be kind of a depressing place, and there is an element of probably they don't want the windows to open.
All right.
It's like the inward curved fences on
Yeah.
the highway.
I'm gonna be like, it's so stuffy, and I'm just gonna like.
Make a strength check.
You're gonna smash a fucking window? We
It's
just got
fine,
here.
It's fine. I'll fix it up.
He
later.
has mending.
Yeah, but
Fix it up later. I save time like, as
And
I get
also
a
the
natural
Gunter.
20.
God.
So
Holy shit! I saw
Gunter
that.
kind of looking around, you pop the wine bottle open and you offer it to him, and he turns to you and he goes, and just and shatters glass out. You can see actually the metal itself fairly sharp because of the way it's positioned to hold the glass in, but with a natural 20, you come up just short of the metal itself, and the glass kind of like tinkers onto the floor below you. A gust of cold
much
wind
better.
enters in, little bits of snow falling on the wood and the
Much
glass.
better.
Hey, Gunter, what the fuck?
I'm freezing.
It's fine. I'll fix it in the morning.
Fix it right now. It's. I mean, we don't
No,
want to get
it's
snow
warm
on your
in here.
bed.
I'm all stuffy.
I'm so cold.
Look at what you're doing to our poor friend.
And
here.
she's just like taking long pulls of wine out of
Just
the
take
bottle.
the. I'll trade you. I hold out a winter coat.
I've got winter coats. I put on my own winter coat, but I take yours though still.
All right.
Got my own as I take yours.
Take a swig of the wine.
Okay. Which wine is that? Do you happen to know?
I have I have quite a few, but these 2 were just there's no like asterisks or anything, so I think they were just like simple common bottles of wine.
There
They're
are
like
no
they're
There's
not.
no such thing.
Well, I mean, because I
Is it
have
the Elven wine?
no, I have fine Elvish wines. I didn't open that.
I know where those are from.
I have a bottle of Dwarvish brandy. I didn't open that.
Yep, I know where that's from.
2 casks of modest wine. And then I just have underneath that 2 bottles wine.
Okay,
Those are
I know
the
what that
bottles
is.
from the time or the transported
Yes.
room. Yeah.
So this
have
is
a lot
this
of
is very
wine.
different. So drinking this wine, there are elements of it that are very
Stuffy because you're
very
drinking it from the
sweet.
bottle.
No, very sweet. This wine too, as you kind of move it around, you guys have all seen health potions, and there is an element of that same shimmer in it. And then you also get this weird scent, and it's hard to explain. At the same time, summer flowers, freshly cut grass, the musk of like a fire in winter, and it just kind of passes over your nose. And there's something about this that reminds you of back in Cord's Temple, that pig. When it first burst into existence, the burst of
drank-
fey air.
You just drank
kind of
Fey
coming
wine.
out.
God damn it. That's rare shit. That's from a different plane.
Nice.
It
I have
is
another
Oh,
bottle.
this is pretty
fantastic. And as it kind of rolls off, it is this very, very clean finish. There's no metallic aftertaste, no heavy wood. It is just this beautiful wine. And you're drinking it from the bottle.
Pass that over here once more.
All right, but let's not finish it off. Let's save the rest for later. Stop.
Are you
I'm
watching
gonna
this
grab
happen?
it. Yeah, I'm gonna grab it if he keeps drinking it too long.
Okay.
Stop.
But I am watching this. I'm
I cork it.
I'm
Yes.
watching
Yeah,
Gunter.
of course, you got it.
I'm assuming we just drank at least half that bottle.
Sure.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It was
Is
a
there
long
anything of
story.
note when I see them drinking? Is that what you're asking, or
More just no, you're fine.
Yeah, cool.
We're watching Gunter.
yeah?
So as you guys drink this wine, I need both of you to make a Constitution saving throw.
I'm gonna go over to the window and just see.
Okay, you go over. This
Yeah,
wind
but
blowing
also
in
like
through.
basically check like A, did anyone hear, and B, did. I mean, I guess it did.
Make a perception.
Can I check if that alerted anyone to vandalism?
5.
5. Okay.
Constitution.
Yep.
It's 15 plus.
Okay, yeah, you're fine. Morwen, you watch as Gunter takes a big pull, and you can see Heinrich be like, and Gunter like hesitantly gives it back. And as you reach for it, you kind of miss the bottle, and you realize you're kind of drunk. This is
Real fast.
not necessarily terribly potent, but something about Feywine's chemistry with your tabaxi body has you a little fucked up.
I'm at least able to grab the bottle, right?
Yeah,
Tap
it's just kind of the moment where you're like, oh shit, and then you can like grab it. Yeah.
Oh, don't drop it.
Um,
Oh, Heinrich, did you want some of this? It's really good wine.
I am okay, thank you very much.
Are you sure?
am.
You should probably try
Okay,
it.
thank
It's
you very
really
much.
Good
Well,
wine.
it's delicious.
Yes, it looks
Follow
delicious.
the bed and go to bed.
I would recognize that was from that room because I was obsessed with that room. So I would be like, no, I'm okay. I think
It's pretty tasty. You're missing out.
that's quite all right.
Are you sure?
Yeah, 18 on perception.
Really sure?
Yeah.
While Gunter's talking, you're every now and then you're like, yes, I'm sure. And
Yeah,
you're,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
looking
yeah.
out
I'm just
through
like,
the
and then I
window.
like crack the door open just to like check to see if
Sure.
not Xanathar, but the
Oh,
barkeep.
Xanafer.
Xanafer,
Yeah.
okay.
So as you look out, you look into the darkness, you can see with a little bit of moonlight and stars and a roll of 18,
Yup.
you can see beyond, there's not a lot of light, but you can see some coming from two different sources. To the north, you can see the huge Zinni monastery, a black shadow, even in the darkness, sort of almost silhouetted against some stars. There are like elements of light, and you would recognize at this point, having seen it a lot, it's magical light. Hung in these sort of like wooden lanterns with little bits that have been cut out. And from here, you can't make out patterns, but you would imagine they are very complex.
Absolutely.
And looking over, you sort of walk by Gunter, noticing that Morwen is now snoring on the bed, like a little bit of drool.
In all the coats.
Yeah, yeah, you're like a little kid in all their snow gear. And you just crack open the door and you cast your glance to the left and to the right. And with a roll of 18, you kind of look under the doors in your hallway and you can
Yeah.
see darkness. There's
Sure.
no lights on. And you listen down the stairs a little bit and you just hear kind of like a, well, what a clown. And then just like,
Okay.
you just hear
His-
kind of footsteps
not
moving around.
ending.
Doesn't
Okay.
seem as if he's noticed.
Cool.
Are you asleep already?
Yeah.
I just climbed a mountain, dude.
We all just climbed a mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a
This whole
really good
travel's been
night's
very
sleep.
traumatizing for me. Yes, I'm asleep.
Yeah. I'm just gonna be like, well, I'm gonna just do some stretches, Gunter. I recommend fixing the window and then getting some rest.
I look out the window. I'm like,
You're lucky no one heard that.
What are you looking for?
Might have had to do some chores for
I'm
people because
looking
they don't
for-
take money.
anything to distract me from Heinrich right now.
Make a perception check.
I'm gonna switch to messaging him in his head. Be like, Gunter, you should go to sleep right now. You should probably stop looking
Oh, it's like
around.
AOL spam.
Yeah.
Alright.
I set up
Nine.
2 away messages against each other in his head.
Passive,
So they're ding 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 ding. ding.
passive 15.
Okay. So
Wow,
looking
that
out,
shows my age right there. Fuck.
Yeah, a little bit.
looking out,
The
Gunter,
fact that we're all
you
laughing
peer
about
out,
it, even
and you're
worse.
so angry right now. I mean, you just realized all of your plans hinged on everybody going to sleep, and you forgot Heinrich doesn't sleep anymore. And in your fear, your eyes start to kind of drift apart, and you can't make out details in the dark.
Fear or
unfortunately.
anger that they drift apart.
A little bit of both, a little column A, a little column B.
If
A
he
little
gets
bit of
really
a
angry
lie.
and they're just like, "Arr."
It's true.
When he's afraid, they go up and down. That's really how they wander. But
Damn.
anything else? You don't see a whole lot to distract you from Heinrich, whose voice is now both outside of your ears and inside of your head.
Gunter, I know you're upset at the guy downstairs, but we just arrived here, and this is in your head.
Yeah.
Like, don't. Just sleep it off. Just sleep it off. Here, hold on. And I just grab the bottle. I'm like, just have some more and just go to sleep.
It's like in Moron's hand.
Yeah,
like a
without
little bit,
even-
little like one drop coming out of it.
Without even, like, Gunter, This is the only way I know. It's like his fucking binky.
And it is delicious wine. Are you finishing the bottle?
I'm gonna save some because I'm like, Moen didn't do anything in this. She just fell asleep.
Right.
Couldn't rely on it.
Look at that.
I was gonna wake you
Loyalty!
up. I was gonna wake you up and be like, keep this guy distracted.
For a whole
You
bunch
can
of
try.
reasons, I'm real glad.
Too bad.
So you don't necessarily find any way to distract yourself. It is getting close to 1 a.m. The cold air is still blowing into this broken window.
Can you at least fix the window before we get a snow pile in here in the morning? Please.
Go over, just slap it and mend it.
Breaking one pane, fixing the other.
There's a moment where it kind of the little metal part bends out a little bit, right back together, and like little bits of glass kind of come together. You don't have all the glass. You shattered it outwards 2 stories below. So you managed to like pull elements of it together. It's still a broken window.
I'll spend the rest of the night just like fixing it and keeping an eye on it.
Okay. So
Good night.
when Gunter finishes with it, it looks kind of like a baseball went through it, as opposed to like somebody knocked the whole thing out. But over time, you like place little bits together and you do what you can to make
like
it.
carve some like a fucking. You know what? You said that there was like a drawer, like drawers or
Yep.
like some furniture or something like that. Like that the drawers were missing pieces or some shit like that.
So they're just kind of they're almost like small bookcases.
Okay. Is there any like what could be considered scrap wood that I could just like try to carve into
Make an
that
investigation
shape?
check.
I just want to look for something I can like carve like a cool looking thing to put in there so it's not as
Sure.
obviously
Yeah,
like
yeah.
just shoved. Investigation 16.
Okay, so you go up to this bookcase and you think about it a little bit, and you remember to support drawers underneath the shelving units.
just like
Usually,
that.
there's these little pieces of wood,
Yeah.
and so you reach under, and as luck would have it, you can pull 3 of them out of each, and so you do have 6 pieces of fairly thin but workable wood.
I'll just try for the rest of the night to cut and make them into like a shape that interlocks. And
Okay.
fits
He's
in.
doing arts and
Make
crafts.
a performance check
Make it a
at
popsicle
advantage
house.
because you're taking some time to do this.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily your best skill.
Well, I just rolled a nat 20 on
There
the
you
first
go.
one.
Oh, good.
So totaling up to, you said performance?
Yes.
That's 25.
Fantastic. It's not enough. No, you're fine. We'll get to that in a second. So, the 2 of you do eventually find sleep, even though Heinrich is kind of working on things and
Doing it as
pulling
quietly
things
as
through. Yeah, of
possible.
course. But it still makes a little noise in the
Keep
small
it
space.
down over there.
Yeah, sorry.
Shay, you find sleep without issue.
It's quiet for
Yes. Yeah, I would say probably because you're not terribly far from the Frost Baron. When the glass broke, you probably, with your perception, would have just heard it, but also would have been like, Heinrich's
Nope.
there. Like, this is not my problem today.
Nope.
But, Gunter, as you settle in and your eyes grow heavy and you
Come
hear
back
the sort
together.
of you hear the sleeping sort of purr going through Morwen, this very now for you familiar way of sleeping. I need you to make a Constitution saving throw.
That's a 9.
Okay.
No, that's an 11.
Is it 11 or a 9?
It's an 11.
Okay. So
It's not good either way. It's not a great one.
Gunter,
It'd probably be a lot worse if it was a 9.
I should have resistance myself if I slept. Dang.
as you sleep, you dream of a familiar black smoke, acrid and stinging your nose, but almost at once, through it, you can see these 2 purple eyes just glow into being. You can see almost like this flame of purple sort of drifting out and evaporating into the smoke around it. You smell, as it gets closer to you, in an almost slithering motion, burning ozone, this sort of underlying deep iron scent, and then a raspy voice. Dwarf, perhaps you don't understand. And make a Constitution saving throw, please.
That's better. That's a dirty 20.
Dirty 20, okay. Not bad from Gunter. Okay. You take 21 points of psychic damage halved to 10. All of a sudden, you feel from the ground up bugs begin to crawl up your skin. And suddenly, tiny pincers begin to bite and rip tiny chunks of flesh away. Termites on a log, you can feel them. And as you try to scrape them away, they seem to go over your hands and ripping out underneath your nails. Hundreds of tiny pincers are ripping chunks away from your body, and you feel now serpents begin to slither up your legs and across your thighs. And suddenly 2 points just bite into your right leg, and you feel liquid fire flow through your blood. You do not hide from me, dwarf.
Who's hiding?
I see more than you now. I see you as you were. Make a Constitution saving throw.
Nice. 23.
23,
Damn.
great. Oh, that's really great. You take 47 points of psychic damage halved to 23. As your blood turns to acid, you can feel these bugs now entering your bloodstream and crawling within the organs and picking through the ribs of your body. You may be the last of the true steel, but even the last will fall.
I thought we were gonna. This is awful.
Thoragrim, you will come to Kol Taram, or you will die.
I'm trying to get over there. I got things to do. I'm making my way.
And right at that moment, you can see before you a dwarven woman, as you knew her in your youth. Long, braided brown hair, and the most beautiful smile that you've ever seen.
That face. What's that face?
It's a mix of pain and happiness.
As you watch the smile,
Are you really tearing that?
as you are watching the smile, never ending, the skin begins to shrivel and shrink. And you can see the teeth in their sockets grow loose and begin to drop out one by one. You see the hair shrivel back away from the scalp, the skin itself beginning to drift off the bones. And you wake up.
Did I see any of that while...
You would
was
have
he, like,
seen
catatonic?
some like shifting around.
But that's it?
Restless sleep. Yeah, not a lot. However,
Wow.
Gunter, as you awake, about 4 a.m, you can mark off a point of exhaustion. And your damage is not healed. You would see Gunter now bolt awake.
Yeah. How's my window?
Your window, you're getting close. You're like halfway done, and you kind of put it down. You're like, and you put this beautiful piece. It's almost like a sun with arcing rays that will fit into the cracks.
Sure.
You put it down, and you can see Gunter.
Gunter, are you okay? I come over, I'm just like, I immediately use...
We gotta
What is
go to
it?
Cold
Healing.
Rock.
It's like healing light. That's the concerning kind of like gut reaction thing.
Are you okay? And suddenly,
Yeah.
there are like on your skin, there are these little glyphs that suddenly spread from the fingers and seem to almost sink in, rotating through these magical glyphs, and you do feel a little bit better.
20.
You feel a lot better.
20 points.
Actually, as it would turn out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm like, I kind of like guidance as I like gather myself. I'm like,
Yeah,
A
yeah.
little.
Yeah, and I'm just like, all right, thank you. It's like that's the gesture of like trust or whatever. Let's just assume.
Sure. You take what you can
You-
get, Gunter.
We've gotta get to Cold Rock.
You keep saying that, but I don't understand.
She's in my head. It's. Oh.
You've mentioned that before, but this is the first time I've seen it affect you like this. What happened?
It's starting to get to me.
What did she say?
Right through me. Just everything. She knows it all. She knows all of it.
Okay.
She knows we're here.
Okay.
Ah.
Why do we have to hurry? Why is she doing this to you? Does she need you for something? Did she ask anything of you? Gunter, I'm gonna like level with you and persuade you.
She wants me to. She wants me to service her.
So, Serve for her, under her?
Yeah.
Okay. And not service under.
No.
Good. Glad. But also, that's horrible. And so she's gonna kill. You look awful, and I'm
I
assuming
feel awful. Ooh.
she's doing this until she has you, I'm guessing.
That's what I would guess, because it's gotten worse.
Okay. Well, then maybe we should find Shay and relay this information and
I
make
said
haste.
we should have gone to Calderon.
Well, let's see if we can
but
get
no,
any
no
allies.
one ever listens to Gunter.
Gunter,
Now I'm
With him
here.
getting a little louder, I'm
Oh,
just
this
gonna
is
do
new.
that like snort awake.
Oh,
Be
and
like,
then I'll lower my voice and I'll be like, Gunter,
The
Let's
room
let
shifts a
her
little bit, and your head hurts ever so slightly. But
let's
yeah,
let her rest a little more. But
what's going on?
we came here.
Nothing. Just go back to sleep.
Okay.
We came here to see if we could get any
go back to
allies.
sleep.
And so while we're here for, like, in the morning, let's find as many allies as Shay can muster up, and then be on our way. Surely, if we start making progress and she's watching, she won't torture you. So, right?
I don't know, because I mean, I'm going there now, and then now I'm feeling it again. I had one night of sleep.
Yeah. All right. What was it that prevented her from breaking in before?
I think I'm just naturally strong-willed.
Ah, yes, strong-willed. Right. And I'm recalling just last night how you almost tried to like seek revenge on a dude for making fun of your clothes.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Actually,
how much
that
longer would it
probably
take
make her feel better, because
for
at least
Morwen?
I'm doing something.
to get the benefits of a long rest.
yeah, like she doesn't look rested at all. Gunter maybe
A
gets
little
like
bit,
a
yeah.
short.
Why
Probably-
wouldn't I be? I passed the fuck out.
Yeah, it was like 12:30.
It was like 4 hours ago. So probably
it's only 4 hours ago?
Yeah, it's still dark out.
Yeah.
So probably another 4 hours.
Okay. Well, Gunter, try to get at least a little bit of
I'm
rest.
not going back to sleep now.
Okay. Fine.
Ah,
Well,
Guess you guys just gotta talk.
I'm not talking.
then don't. That's fine. I was still
I
working
gotta
on
go
fixing
get
this
some
window.
fresh air. I'm gonna go outside. I'm
Okay.
gonna leave the room.
I mean, with how concerned I am for how that just affected you, I'm not going to try to stop. Because now I think your
Yeah.
mind is on something else anyways.
So poof, the door slams open, and Gunter, you trudge down the hallway, down the steps. You can see, still empty downstairs, and a slightly more tired-looking Xanifer look up from one of the tables. Dwarf, are you okay? It seemed like
Everything's fine. What's there to do around here this time of night?
Well, it's like 4 in the morning, so
Yeah.
not a lot. Are you looking for work?
Is it you that you're offering? You're offering me work?
Well, yeah, I'm the only one in the room. So,
All right, what do you got?
all right. I mean, I'm feeling pretty tired myself, and if you're just gonna make a whole bunch of noise all night, why don't you look after the bot? Then I'll get some rest.
All right, fine.
So he,
I'm staying here for free, though.
Have we already
My work
paid him?
doesn't come cheap. Give me back my money.
you know, at the end of your shift, if you do a good job, of course.
All right, get some sleep.
And he turns, and right behind the bar, the one door that's there, pulls it open. You see just for a minute through. You can see there's a bed at the far back, like a whole bunch of bookshelves actually, and you can see most of them fairly full. And there's a fireplace that is located within the room itself, and several ducts coming out. And you imagine that heats most of this tavern, probably leading to various places. You would actually remember that there was, as you walked, a little bit of a duct from the ceiling. So fairly complex heating system, but door shuts, and you are now left
You're
alone to tend to the Frostmare.
I'm gonna
Not for long.
look for a bottle of the nicest stuff at the bar.
Make an investigation check.
I'm finishing the window, and as soon as I'm done with that, I'm going downstairs.
Okay, window
Well,
will take you
he's-
maybe like
That's
another
a
half hour, but you're
15.
almost
While
there.
he's still fixing the window and in the room, I'm just gonna be like in my sleep, like roll over and like grab one of the coats, be like,
Okay.
"Dude, this is so soft."
And so you sleep with the softer
And
version
I just
of
like
Gunter.
knead it a little bit.
Gunter has like a couple scratches on his back there. But so yeah, what was your
15.
15. Looking around, there's an interesting collection of different things, although you're seeing a lot of what is here is almost like a clearish, like a whiskey kind of smelling thing. Nothing's labeled. There are probably about 5 types of liquor, but as nothing is labeled, you can really only go by the smell. And there are some that smell a little bit more floral. Okay. There is one in particular that smells quite smoky, and there's one that smells sweet.
I'm going to take all of them, put a little of each into the glass, and just...
Spectacular.
Ew.
It explodes.
The flavor that hits your palate is pretty unfortunate. It tastes of sour dirt, of bright juniper, and for some reason something within your mouth is quite salty. And you find that your mouth dries out as you finish this drink. Go ahead and make a constitution check at disadvantage.
God.
That's a 18.
Yeah, no problem. So you know, your stomach clenches a little bit, but as a dwarf, you have a pretty strong constitution, and you manage to kind of shrug it off. It was not pleasant, but you survived.
I'm curious as to if you're not trying to sleep while you're drinking. Why? Okay. No, it's fine.
You're not there. So
I'm
you
just
continue drinking for a little bit. At this point, you could make your way downstairs if you would like. You finish this. It almost looks like a sun, although the rays seem to kind of spiral and then crack out, almost like lightning. And then in the bottom half of it, almost like roots. And so it kind of creates this
Kind
almost
of like let the
it's like almost
intuition
like
take it.
the sort of like Nordic tree that spans the 2 directions, but wood.
Yggdrasil?
Yes, I don't know how to pronounce it, so I never try.
Yggdrasil.
That thing.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful. You manage to just slot it in place. It takes like one try where you have to kind of carve out a little bit, and you finally fit it in, and it fits perfectly. You still feel a little bit of a draft, and like it's not molecularly sealed, but it looks as if it belongs here.
I'm very proud of that.
It's quite good, yeah.
Yeah.
But you make your way downstairs, and you can see Gunter with a bunch of bottles just scattered out on the bar.
Gunter, what? Never mind. And I'm gonna walk over and be like, which one was the best?
I'm going to pour him a thing of all of them.
No.
Slide it over
Drink
And
up.
looking at it, I mean, it's just a clear liquid.
Yeah, but I was like, I'd smell it first.
As you're
Smelling
I
it,
tip it up into
it
his...
smells confusing because there are parts
Hold
of
on.
it where, you've had Tiefling Fire wine before,
Sure.
and there's an element very similar to that that's
Okay.
kind of bright, but sort of, what's the word? Peaty sort of flavor.
Sure.
But then there's also something that smells like the ocean. Not like a bad low tide smell, but just the salty
Like salt
sort of
brine.
traveling. Yeah. And then also being from Port Quinn, I mean, you're aware
Sure.
of that smell. And then something smells almost like jungle or field. It's kind of hard to tell, but vegetal for sure. You could imagine just knowing a fair amount about alcohol.
Yeah.
This is not going to taste good.
Yeah, great. So I'm gonna cast Mage Hand in a position sideways to Gunter, and then like move the hand sideways without Gunter being able to tell it, and then take a shot and mimic it, and like kind of fake it and pour. You know what
Make
I'm
a
saying?
sleight of hand check.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
though?
make a sleight of hand. Yeah, I love it. That's fantastic.
20, dirty 20.
Okay. Gunter, you watch as Heinrich, he hesitates for a second.
Dirty 20.
And then you watch as he just,
Well, my
no
sleight of hand's
problem,
7, so.
just shoots it back, no expression on his face.
Yeah, I'm just like, not great, but thank you, and then I hand it back. I can't. It's hard to burn me if you couldn't tell. It's not doesn't hurt burn as much as I'm assuming it.
Oh,
That's
dude, give
impressive.
him the sickest burn.
Alright.
Gossip girl.
All right,
Slide it back.
Gunter slides another one over to you.
another one. I'm like, no.
Oh, you knocked it back so easy.
Well, I don't want to
I'm
get drunk.
pouring myself one again, too.
We had stuff to do tomorrow.
What's tomorrow? We're here tonight. I need to blow off
You
some
do enough
steam.
of that, you're gonna pass out, and
I'm
she'll
blowing
come
off
back for you.
steam. As she comes back for me, I want to be drunk.
All right.
Oh, that was like dark.
Yeah, for real.
I'll be like, all right.
That's some dark shit.
But
Constitution saving throw.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see the result of that.
That's an 18 again.
So Gunter, he chugs it, and there is this kind of, and he puts it down, no problem.
And then I just shoot.
Constitution saving throw,
this time.
please. Yeah.
Look at that peer pressure.
Fucking 9.
So Heinrich takes the shot back finally after seeing you do one and really just kind of sitting it down, and
It's
immediately,
fair. I'm drinking mezcal right now. so it's-
immediately just kind of gags a little bit. You can see the whole drink doesn't make it into his mouth. Part of it squirts back out.
Yeah.
You don't throw up, but you hack it out, and
Yeah.
parts of it go down your lungs. You're coughing and hacking. You're not drunk because you do not consume the actual
Right.
liquid. However, it's a very unpleasant experience. Part of
Yeah.
it comes out of your nose.
Yeah.
And the smell of it is just
Like-
lethal.
That's just the stupidest idea ever to mix them all together. Give me, and I'm just gonna like pull them away from him, kind of just like.
Hey, you can't steal from the bar.
I'm not. I'm just moving them out of your grasp because clearly you're stealing from the bar.
No, I'm the bartender.
Who says who?
Says the tiefling back.
Suddenly the door swings like maybe 4 inches open.
Yeah.
Says me.
Is this
Ah.
okay?
See?
I
You
just want
patch
to be
things
completely
up.
honest.
Honestly,
He's-
I didn't know it was happening for quite some time, so it was fine for a little bit. But please, keep it down.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, we got a rowdy customer.
Crustomer. Is this
He
the
turns
Krusty
over and kind
Krab?
of looks, and he's like half asleep, so he kind of looks and just says, "Throw him out. I don't care, but just keep it down."
All right.
The door shuts.
You had the man.
Absolutely not. No. Just
Hey.
put this away. I'm gonna just grab one
If
of
you
them
give me
because I
a-
want to just
give
know
it
what they're
back
made
and
of.
we'll keep it under wraps, okay? You don't have to leave, but you take them all back.
But you
No,
can't stay.
I want to investigate each one individually because I'm just curious.
Make an investigation check.
Yeah. Because there was like interesting things that was just all awful all at
As
once.
Heinrich
That's
puts
20.
them back down,
Dirty
I'm gonna
20.
just take a swig from each of them.
Okay.
and-
We're gonna get back to that in a second.
All right.
What was that?
Dirty 20.
Dirty 20. So as you sort of look at each one of these, they are all clear, although not in the same way. There are some that do have a little bit, they're opaque almost, in that it's like a frosted glass when you look through it. And there's another one when you look through it, the one that smells a little bit smoky. It's weird. It distorts the image so that like when you swish it in front of Gunter's face just kind of moves with the liquid itself. But as you kind of pick through them, you do identify one of them is very much like a tiefling fire wine. That PD one seems as if it's like a strangely distilled version. You're used to it being quite dark, so we've never seen something that looks like this and smells like the thing that you're used to.
Sure. Like a peated puchin.
Yes. And so I don't know what that is. You set that aside, and you pull the one that smells kind of florally, a little bit more like a jungle.
I'm looking
and
for the
meadow.
briny one.
Okay, so fair enough. You go through the other ones. They seem to be mostly like some kind of a whiskey, although very different in
Sure.
their composition.
Yeah.
The final one that you find is this sort of briny thing. And as you sniff it, it has these elements of like a darker ale. Maybe even edging into like stout territory. It's that rich maltiness and that strange kind of almost salty overtone to it. But if your eyes were closed, you would swear this was beer.
Does it remind me of home because it smells like brine?
In a way, it's a
feel like
different
that's
kind
where I
of
would
brine,
be.
and actually, it pulls other memories, although you're not quite sure what they might be, unless
Yeah.
you'd like to roll an intelligence check.
Well, sure.
Go for it.
Followed by taking a glass and sipping it.
Okay.
Ooh, 23.
You've been rolling well
I have,
tonight.
except for my constitution save, which is an appropriate thing to
Your mind goes
throw
back
up at.
to Far Shore and to this alehouse that you went into, built into an old church. You remember just walls of different kinds of ale. And you remember it was tended to by this dwarf, kind of odd, like pale skin, blonde hair. You would remember he was from the Anacrean Alliance. And something about the element of salt definitely reminds you of the Anacrean ale that he gave you. You would imagine this hails from the same region.
And it's like a distillate made from the same stuff.
Possibly. And as you take a sip, I mean, it almost tastes like a chocolate infused porter with like a little bit of sea salt added to it. It's interesting. Probably in ways like you get really excited because you do like stouts, if I remember correctly.
Sure.
And you I think canonically you do from back in Farshore.
Right.
At least I have that written down. But
That's
you,
fine,
it immediately the salt comes, and you're not really sure how to feel about it. But it is, for all intents and purposes, like having sort of like a sea salt chocolate bar
Yeah.
with like a heavy, almost Guinness style beer underneath it.
Okay.
Not bad, but different, and especially given the color of it, it's a little
Weird.
unnerving.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not terrible in and of itself.
I thoroughly enjoy that. And thinking about Farshore too, I kind of like,
Yeah.
like my gut kind of like guilt, like strong pang of guilt, like right in the center of my chest.
You remember
just sinks.
as you took that beer from the dwarf, looking over to the person that you were sharing. it with.
That's exactly, that's where it went. And I'm just like,
Gunter.
that's good, and I just kind of put it down. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna,
that's good.
Can I resistance myself in between each of these swigs?
Sure. However,
It's like,
I don't like what I'm seeing at all. I kind of turn around and I walk towards the door. I'm just like, yeah, that's really weird.
well, I'm
so Gunter, you were drunk.
Just rubbing himself.
There's
while
no
drinking.
saving throws for this. When you chug 5 glasses of hard liquor, yeah.
not 5 glasses, just 5 swigs from
5
the
swigs?
bottles.
Okay, make a constitution saving throw at disadvantage.
5 times.
Not 5 times, just once for all of them. We'll be
All
fine.
right, that's
You're still drunk. No matter what you roll, it's just a matter of how bad it's going to be.
It's 15.
Sturdy.
Or
You get nervous about this because Gunter is just pulling swigs at all 5 bottles that go
Yeah, I guess
across.
it doesn't really
Oh my
matter.
god, he's
but-
so
And
depressed.
was
you can
actually an
see
18.
18?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you can see he is drunk.
Yeah.
I mean, he is like kind of swaying in his seat a little bit, and one eye is like half closed. But he's staying awake and he's staying relatively put together for Gunter.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of walk back now that he's done, cork all the bottles and put them away with probably little obstruction from him because he's so fucking
Kind of
drunk.
putting yourself between the bottles.
Yeah, I'm gonna walk over and be like, Gunter, you all right?
One
And
of the bottles, my favorite.
no. Before that even could happen, I'm pushing you to like I'm like kind of like guiding you to the stool on the other
Make
side.
competing athletics checks here.
Is he not at disadvantage because of this? Is that fair?
It doesn't
All
matter.
right. Yeah. Okay.
I got a natural 1.
So Gunter kind of reaches for it, and as he reaches, you pull his arm and kind of turn him around and just shepherd him over to a chair.
You're lucky.
As Gunter sits down like heavily
Yes.
in the chair.
As are you. So then I just cork them all and I put them all back.
I'm not so lucky to have to deal
Put him
with
back on the
this.
shelf.
Ah.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna deal with it. That's the next thing we're doing.
Eventually.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. I mean, I saw what happened to you. That's pretty
Did
much
you
my
see?
top priority.
Did you smell the fire?
No, I wasn't in your dream. but
Yeah.
I saw how
you didn't
horrible
see.
you
Did
looked when you woke up.
feel?
Clearly not, Gunter. I'm just trying to help.
Yeah, well, you know, it would be helpful if we went to Calderon instead of coming here in the first place.
I'm just letting him like drift off or whatever.
Swallow.
Yeah.
Gunter, make a constitution saving throw.
That's a 17.
Okay. Gunter, you have a real hard time falling asleep. And it takes a little bit of time, but with the help of the copious amounts of alcohol that you drink, you do find sleep.
Just like sitting passed out at the table next to the bottle.
Yeah, just slumped over, not even falling over on the table, just the sort of stocky build of Gunter just kind of keeping him up. But time passes and you watch as Gunter sleeps and the light slowly increases.
I feel like I would go and stand outside the front door once I'm certain that he's like. I just want to go look outside for a bit and then come back in.
Okay, make a perception check. Are you looking for anything in particular? Just generally keeping a watch, or
Just taking it all in because
Sure.
this is pretty much one of the most unique places I've been. Granted, every place we've been has been pretty unique, but this one is so far from what I'm comfortable with, and it's kind of interesting.
yeah.
Well, very interesting. It wasn't great. Active is only a 7, passive 11.
Okay. I mean, you spend some time, and so you take in what you can. Initially, in the dark, it's hard to see. Looking out from the door, the Frostmare Inn, obviously this huge, beautifully gilded horse stands out. That does draw your attention away from a lot of other things. But examining it, you can see in the main, each individually carved element of metal hair actually has almost impossible to read these characters. And as you really get close, there is this poof, as hundreds of characters in different languages, not just in Yi, but you see elements of Elvish and Dwarvish sort of shift and then suddenly become all as one common, although in like very different handwritings. And it is the story of the Frostmare, this mythical creature that exists perhaps within the north, and is said to be able to travel through snow, be it solid or otherwise. It is supposed to protect its rider from the elements of the north. And it is very much sort of like a Babe in the Big Blue Ox sort of story. It is this creature that appears and helps those in need within the north, and they can apparently be tamed. Although, according to the most recent sort of freshly carved element, haven't been seen in some time. But it is a beautiful piece.
Is it written in like a way that's believable, or is this just like a story? I mean, I know that we've seen fantastical shit, obviously, everywhere, but
Make a history check.
nope. 5. No, wait. I mean, yeah, 5.
5. Hard to tell. You've read a lot of stories and you've seen a lot of things, and so while parts of it seem sort of, you're incredulous about parts of it, you've seen so much weird shit that it's hard to put something completely out of the realm of possibility.
Right. Embellished or otherwise.
The light continues to increase, and Shay, you do find consciousness very early in the morning, probably right around 8 o'clock. Snow stopped falling, although there is now kind of a gray sky. Although not terribly thick, you can still see the sun through it. What do you want to do?
I'm gonna get up and put my bed back together
Okay.
in the kind of nest style that the blankets were
Yep.
before.
And you sort of carve out and push them all very, very fine. These are like they feel almost silken just due to the thread count. But it is not. It is just cotton that has been worked in a way that very few people have the patience to work it.
And I'm gonna go to the Frostmare.
All right.
That's where I knew they were.
You walk out and into just the very, very little bit of freshly fallen snow. Immediately taking it in, you don't see any footsteps around, so it seems as if it's been a very quiet night. And for you, Shay, 8 o'clock is kind of a late wake up.
Yep.
Chats. Oh no. So you being up this early, or this late actually, you would imagine that there should be footsteps out. And you look around the dormitory style building that most of the mystics live within, and actually Aira unusually also takes residence in, sort of a 3-tiered structure with these wooden walkways that wind down. Generally speaking, at this time in the morning, you see doorways that are opened. You can see there are monks that are doing their monkey business.
Oh my god, there must be
yourself a
so
treat for
many.
that one.
There must be tons.
There are
Must be
3
barrels upon barrels.
Oh, there's only
on
3.
the top level.
Balance out after.
Nobody that you would recognize, but 2 younger mystics. One's an elf. One seems maybe half elf, but probably more towards the human side. And then on the second tier, you can see there is a dwarf who you vaguely know, Barktha, who not especially well known for anything other than being fairly average at most things, which in and of itself is sort of like a cool thing. Perfection can be found in many ways.
Absolutely.
And so,
Perfectly
very weird. You're used to seeing dozens of people, and you're used to seeing people who are heading off and towards the sort of divination structured or centered structure where there is. Make an intelligence check. I don't know that Shay would know this.
Well, she wouldn't know either. 15.
15. Something about this building, even outside of the mystic tradition, there are a lot of Aarakocran who visit this building and spend time at this building. Part of it might be that there are these sort of stone archways that create like a very natural place to sort of perch.
Yep.
But it is something that you've noticed. You've never been within the building. It's typically used for not meditation, but there are a lot of ways to manipulate time and space and the energy that flows through all living things. And the sort of predictive elements of that are generally practiced within this building. Not something that you'd be terribly interested in. and you pass by the structure that serves as a sort of library for the Zinni, although you would know there are not books that are kept there. And you pass your way out through this mystics area and into the proper Zinni monastery, the larger general structure. You wind out and through this the Plateau of Triumph with these very odd, sort of almost cherry blossom like trees that, again, as you touch the petals themselves, are almost like succulents. And you make your way across the bridge and over to the Frostmare. You can see there is some shifting activity inside, and you, staying awake the whole night, would see right around like 7 in the morning this very, very hungover looking, like older halfling come down. He has like the stringy white hair and this black hat that's like mildly stained. He smells of booze. And he kind of makes his way down and like perches himself up on the bar, leans over, and just immediately there's this kind of and just asleep.
How's Gunter look?
I mean, rough. He looks as if, despite the fact that he's sleeping, he's not really achieving any benefits of it. Morwen, right around 9 or 10 o'clock, no, I'll say 9:30, you would wake up within your bed all alone. No Heinrich, no Gunter.
Would I get there before then?
How directly are you going?
Direct.
Yeah, so you would come a little bit before, so we'll get back to that. You enter into the Frostmare, where you see Heinrich standing, much like that, next to a passed out Gunter, like a little bit. You can see his beard has accumulated drool at the bottom of it as he's hunched over. And a passed out halfling up at the bar.
Good
You
morning.
do not recognize, dressed in very
Good morning,
unusual
Shay.
clothes.
Morning.
I think you have next shift with the kids.
Do I want to know?
We'll talk about it later. Bad dreams. Woke up. Seemed strongly affected by them, saying we really need to get to Kol Taram, which I now think should be the priority if we can manage that.
Well, I was going to take
And
him
then he
to-
got really fucking drunk, obviously. And hopefully he's not having any bad dreams. Warren's just upstairs in the, I think, owl room.
He seems fine.
I really hope
He's not. He's really not okay. He's really not okay. Maybe
Was-
gather Morwen. She's upstairs
Okay.
in the owl room.
I'm going to take you to meet a friend this morning. That
Just me or all of us?
all of you
Okay.
should be helpful, but I'll collect more one.
Yeah, if you could.
Yep.
So you travel upstairs. You make your way up, and you haven't been here before, but very easy to find the owl room. And as you open it, you can see Morwen just starting to stir. You can see this big 2 beds shoved together. You can see, for you especially, you look at this window, and it's not a Zinni design. It's cool, and it looks really cool, but it's not like a Zinni design. And then you think about kind of Gunter being there, and you remember that glass sound that you heard the night before. And you connect the
Not
dots.
gonna go there. Okay, great. Marwin.
Good morning.
Good morning, sunshine. Let's go.
Come on, sunshine. Where's Gunter?
Downstairs. Apparently you missed things.
Don't know if that's bad. Alright, I'm gonna.
Unclear.
Ta-da.
Okay,
Got my
pajamas.
pajamas.
The pajama pattern swirls into the rivets and just becomes the plain leather armor.
I'm ready.
Okay, good. Let's go.
Alright, I pack up the winter garb.
Sure.
And I find the leftover bottle.
Okay, so you
I'm sure, I mean, you guys didn't drink it, right?
no,
So there's still half
Gunter
left.
had
Yeah,
actually
more of
corked it, and so you can actually see there is about a quarter of a bottle left down by the door. Just placed on the ground as they left, or as Gunter stormed out.
I can grab it anyway.
Yeah, okay, you have a quarter bottle of that wine still. It is Fey wine.
Yep, I have 1 and 1/4 bottles of Fey wine.
There you go. So, you guys head back downstairs?
I got a full rest, right?
Yes, so you can mark off a full rest. You can mark off a full rest. You can mark off a full rest as well.
Sure. I
Gunter.
get my dice
I know.
back.
Get up always.
You get a full round.
As
and
everybody
you get a
comes
full round.
downstairs, the noise of everybody and just general sort of time, the light now coming into this place, you wake up.
Ah!
Ah,
You're still
Jesus.
exhausted.
Ah!
You have not healed,
Except for what I did.
except for what
Remember
Clement
that.
did. And all of you are now awake within this small space. As Gunter starts, you can see the drunken halfling at the bar just kind of just still dead asleep.
Before we go anywhere, I'm just gonna go and knock on the door to
I get.
Xandar.
I'm gonna like
Xanfer.
get up and go over, try to catch him before he comes out.
Okay. Both of you arrive there at roughly the same time. You have short legs. It's hard for you to speed up like that in this small space. But Heinrich, you knock on the door, and you, from like right on the other side of the door, you just hear, I'll be out in a minute. You hear kind of like a page turn.
Mm-hmm.
What are you guys doing?
I'm just gonna be like, we're going to be heading out. The dwarf as well, who you tasked
You
to
owe
watch
me
the
money!
bar.
The dwarf is, hang on, and you hear like a book shut, and footsteps, and the door swings open.
Yeah. I don't know what deal he brokered with you, but we have
You
things
owe
to
me
do.
money for
Just ignore
watching the
him.
bar.
Just ignore him,
Are you
please.
drunk?
Yes,
No,
he's very
I'm
drunk.
fine. I'm just tired because I was watching your bar.
He's very drunk.
You smell a little bit like liquor.
I spilled some of the liquor when I was serving the people. I don't work at a bar. This is my first
He
time.
tasked
Are you still drunk?
No.
He leans in as you say that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he certainly is.
You know, I think, and he kind of looks by, and you can see that there are like the bottles, and they're like a little lower. You didn't drink a ton. You drank a lot from like different sources. But he looks over at you, and you know, I think we're probably even.
Yeah, let's get out of here. Sorry about expecting more.
Oh, I didn't expect much, but yet I find myself still disappointed. But thank
Yeah.
you very much. I appreciate your responsibility. In fact, you know what? And he turns around and he pulls off of the table a piece of silver and hands it to you.
Please, I feel badly enough. It's quite all right.
Oh, all right. I'll twist my arm.
It's
why
not
don't you?
like you can spend it here anyways. Am I right?
Sure.
What-
I give him his key
Wait a
back.
minute. Wait a minute.
I'm gonna be like,
Are there more like you here just out of curiosity?
More like us.
Think of it this way. We're trying to get out of here as soon as possible. The normal form of payment, so I've heard here, is tasks that requires time. Money cuts time short. Any people who
like
might
looks
be able to
beyond
help
you a little
out?
bit, and he says, "Hey, come in here." And he like kind of.
I'll be
stands
right
aside.
back. Shay, keep... Sorry.
Like, hey, wait a second. Wait
No,
a
it's
minute.
just door.
No, I'm curious. I'm going. Oh, I'm eavesdropping. Ears
You need
pressed
to
against
make
the
a
door.
perception check.
I'm also eavesdropping, like right underneath. Like this guy, I'm so gonna kill him.
I got a 21.
If we can get any supplies with money, I'd rather that. Than
So you
having to
enter
pay for
this room.
time.
Xenifer shuts the door behind you. You hear kind of like as Gunter collides a little bit with the door as it shuts. But the space is really interesting. There are books. As far as you can see, almost every single wall space has been lined with a bookshelf.
I'm in awe. I'm like, you've got a nice collection.
And you see he just kind of looks around and says, focus.
Sorry.
I'm thinking to myself, collection.
you
of
mentioned-
what?
Yeah.
That others like us, not tieflings necessarily, but people who broker with proper currency.
Sure.
There's not a lot of those in this place in general, but I do run a little bit of a business for travelers such as yourself that can't be wandering around picking potatoes out of the ground all day. You know, you work hard for your money, and you should spend it. I have a couple of people in town that can complete tasks in exchange for a little bit of financial assistance. And I broker those trades. So if you found yourself with a task that needed doing, bring it to me. I can find somebody to do that task for the appropriate amount of money.
Fair enough. I appreciate that.
I'm a businessman.
I can tell. Are you normally found here, just in general? I don't have anything in mind, honestly, right now at the time. I just was curious if we needed such assistance.
Yeah, you can find me here pretty much any time. It is my place.
Okay.
I would just ask, please keep this.
Oh, yeah.
On the
And then I
down
just
low.
kind of like
I would
message.
prefer.
I message, be like, don't worry about it.
Sort of starts a little bit and goes, "Oh,
You
you're
can
one of those."
You can back this way too,
He just looks at you.
because the message works like he can reply mentally if he thinks about it. So I say like, you can think hard enough, and I can hear that
And so
too.
he squints at you and just goes, "Potato."
I'm like, yeah, potato.
Oh shit!
So
That's
if
pretty
we
cool.
need to, that's how we can do it.
What did I just say?
Oh, sorry, I wasn't doing it. Hold on. And then go ahead.
You just
And-
hear, fuck.
Rude.
That's amazing. Why don't you put that talent to use? You could do like an act.
It's called a recent acquisition of mine. I haven't been quite.
Well, I've never really
Anywho,
been into
doesn't-
entertainment, but if you need an agent, I imagine I could probably put something together for you.
And pull you out of this fine establishment, off of this fine mountain. I mean,
Make a persuasion check.
I really love eavesdropping on this conversation
'Cause it's half and half.
and hearing just like silence,
potato.
potato, silence. That's rude.
What do you think's going on?
Natural
there?
20. So
I don't know.
persuasion
He's got a
of,
collection of potatoes.
25.
Rude potatoes.
I like you. I don't see a lot of tieflings around here. We had a couple sort of pass by, I think, but they never came to my establishment.
Who, when, what do they look like?
Well, it's almost like looking into a mirror, except you got kind of different situation up there. But
Skin
you know,
color?
like us, I never saw them.
Okay. That's
One of the few scouts that's left in town saw them during a patrol. They passed to the south. They were heading in the direction of Koltaram. So, probably not alive anymore between you and me. But listen, if you were looking for something kind of cool and I like you, there's a guy that's part of the monastery. He's a halfling, I think. He makes some pretty cool things. If you go in town to... 1 second here. Pontiff's Pottery. There's a shop called Wonders. Go there. There's a couple cool things on sale. It changes. There's sort of what's the word? Not rejected. The curious things that don't quite work as intended, but may have some utility outside of their intended purpose.
in his name.
The shopkeep there. It's one of the guy's students. I think his name is Effa something.
Effa something?
Yeah, I can't remember the whole thing, but
Okay.
it's one of them elf names.
Okay.
But anyways,
Noted. Thank you.
the
Appreciate
tasks that they're going to ask from you require gathering pretty intricate materials, probably something you don't have time for. So just, bring that back to me and we can probably get you all sorted.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. Anyways,
Appreciate
do me a favor. I don't necessarily know the people that you're keeping company with, so if you could just keep it discreet between you and I would really appreciate that.
that. Yeah. I mean, with any luck, they weren't listening in against the door.
That seems oddly specific.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that they'll oft do, and that's why I was...
We step away from the door.
But hey,
You watch as he goes, and he just creeps towards the door.
I'm whistling and cleaning my nails.
I'm just like,
Everybody in Squall's End hears him as he tiptoes over to the door, very unstealthily. You see, as he gets in, he kind of stumbles a little bit and goes "Shh," to you, and then
I'm just kind of like smirking, be like, sure.
pulls the door open suddenly, and you guys just are just sitting there very casual. You don't react to the door.
Hi.
Shuts the door. I don't know. They seem pretty trustworthy to me.
I run back up to the door.
Fair enough.
let that go
But
over.
Fair
you know
enough.
what? We'll do your thing, and we'll try to keep it,
Yeah.
quiet.
Yeah.
I'm good at being quiet. Anyways, I'm not going to keep you too long, but remember what I said. And he
course.
opens the door up, and
No, I immediately am like, no. Oh.
take a performance check, both of you. This is actually sleight of hand, I'm going to say.
That is a 17.
Sleight of hand. Interesting.
I'm an expert in it.
He emerges
like
out
deception would be
and
best.
just kind of looks around, and so anyways, just let me know.
Will do. Will do. We have some things to tend to
Hey!
and some places to get to.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
Hey. Gunter, don't we have to be going?
In a minute.
Oh, all of a sudden it's not a rush. Okay.
So, where would one get wyvern parts made into something of use?
Wyvern, like the things that have been flying around.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, just bring it to the monastery. Honestly, those people got all kinds of things they could do for you.
All right. Thanks.
Are you
Slick.
slowly walking over and tapping him like that?
No, I'm gonna naturally just give him a pat on the shoulder.
Okay, that seems more natural.
It seems like you're giving him guidance.
make a
What are you
performance
doing?
check.
Yeah, I'm like waiting for what spell you're casting accidentally.
I know what it is.
That's 15.
Hey, anytime. Honestly, if you're really looking for somebody to make these pots, there's a couple routes you could go. Squall's End is a little tough because they work with pretty fine materials. Something harvested from the wild, maybe not so much what they're gonna do. You might want to try Nanook. I heard there's a pretty good smith out that way, and maybe he could fashion it into something.
Okay.
Yeah, but now what? He fails. Which one are you doing? I know exactly what you're doing, and everybody else will too in a
You
second.
fucking asshole. You showed me that spell.
Oh, what'd you do to this
So
poor
as
man?
Gunter claps him on the shoulder, all of you have spent some time with Gunter because it wasn't a terribly sneaky thing.
No.
You see as he touches him, suddenly, almost as if this lightning arcs up, but not lightning. It's like ball lightning, and it's not ball lightning. You see for a second, almost as if these little blue bugs into his arm. He doesn't seem to notice, and he pulls back and just kind of says, "Well, anyways, I wish you all some luck on your. Jeez, it's kind of hot in here."
Oh, maybe you should go lie back down. This guy seems to be okay watching the bar.
He turns and
pointed
looks
at
at the
the half
passed
of
out guy. It's a little bit too much like my last guy.
Good one.
I'm sorry. I'm really not feeling that good. I'm gonna
Here's
go
your
sit
key.
down. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And he puts it in his pocket, and you can see he's like a little wobbly on his feet, and he's not as most tieflings that you've seen. He's not red skinned. He is very much this kind of peach,
Right,
very
so-
human tone. But you can see there is like this feverish sort of red rising within his forehead and his cheeks, and even as he sits down, he is just man, must be getting a bug. And what do you guys do?
And would I know what that
going.
is?
I gotta get to Kona.
Could I
Really,
piece
really
together what I
outside?
just saw, or could I remain
Make
blissfully
an intelligence
unaware?
check.
Because if I know, I'm staying here and helping him, and you're down a party member.
Find out.
12.
You're aware that Gunter has some kind of magic, but being as how he didn't disappear, you know it's not banishment. And
Sure.
seeing as how he's not glowing and like on the ground, it wasn't guiding bolt.
Right. I'd be like,
I didn't mend him either.
yeah. And you
So as
didn't
far
guidance him.
as far as you can tell, the closest thing to what Gunter has done so far with that is guidance. So
Yeah.
you know it wasn't guidance, but it looks similar, and so hard to tell.
Okay.
I'm already outside.
Like, hey, Shay, wait up.
And Gunter
I-
joins you out
I-
in the snow.
Walked out the front door once. I went in the other room.
Just be like, hey, just take
I'd
care of
still
yourself.
say that.
I'll maybe see you later.
Start leaving.
Because like
Yeah,
I'm like I have no idea what
I'm
just
like-
happened. I'm like, just take care of yourself. Just rest up.
It's the cold climates. I'm still not quite used to it, you know.
Yeah. Same. I put the ring back on.
He kind of slumps down in his chair. Have a good one. He just seems kind of sick now.
Yeah.
But as you guys head out, are you leaving as well?
Yeah, I got two coats on.
Okay, so you put both of your cold weather gear
One
on.
one of mine and the one I took from him.
Fair enough. You have your red. So okay. You go out sort of puffed out like a little marshmallow person.
Yeah, I can't even put my arms down.
Yeah, they don't quite come down to your sides. The three of you are now out in the snow. You can see in the snow that fell overnight, Shay's footprints kind of heading off from where you guys are to the left and then wrapping around the corner. I'm assuming you're going to the monastery.
I was going to take them to Grumbles, but
Yeah, so Gamble, you have to not go through the monastery, but you have to go around it. So in the same direction.
I'm not moving particularly fast.
Okay.
but-
So as you guys round the corner, you can see off in the distance Shay. and you hurry to catch up, or what are you guys doing?
So how far till Colteron?
You guys are walking and talking?
Yeah.
I'd be like, well, first, I'd just be like, Shay, is there any hope to find help here with our
You shouting
end
that?
goal? I mean, I'm catching up. Like, can we find any allies that might be able to help us out in Colteron?
Depends on what you mean by help.
I mean, fight.
Allies?
Yeah, allies. Like, fight
Allies?
the dragon.
Not likely.
Okay, then we should probably... Gunter was, I don't know, assaulted in his sleep, but I didn't see anything. He woke up and looked ragged. And,
Well,
I mean, he
remember
said
that
that
whole thing about
the
the
dragon
journal
and the-
with
yeah.
the dragon and the dreams?
yeah, we're all... Yeah.
I mean, it's only been the 4th night of it.
As
Yeah,
you guys are
this
walking,
is the first time you've ever mentioned that she's telling you to go there or else she'll keep hurting you.
If you'll remember, the first time I said she wants us to go to Colteron.
Yeah, but I mean,
He said
But
that.
she didn't hurt you.
When we got to the fork in the road, there was Colteron or this place. We
Yeah.
didn't go to Colteron.
Yeah, but you
I was
seem...
So
there.
don't pin this one on me, buddy.
I
I'm just
remember
saying,
that.
you seemed fine
He did
at the
say
time.
that.
Shuffle off angrily.
Okay.
He seemed fine at the time, but now it looks like it's
I don't
getting
think
to
he
him.
seemed fine. I don't think he's fine, you guys.
As you guys are walking, Shay, you especially notice there are people out now, kind of emerging late in the day for Squall's End.
Eyes, like, starting to
People look
wander.
tired here. And as you walk around, you remember Air looking tired? It's weird. It maybe part of it is just having to cover so much work now that a large portion you're kind of starting to realize has left. But it's probably something more than that. And looking at Gunter putting things together, this is a widespread problem.
It's the effect of the dreams. Let's go to the heart. If there's no one here to help us, and nothing that we can gain from this place, I mean, no
The heart.
offense,
Don't
Never
say that
said that
too
there was
soon.
nothing to be gained. Just
then let's
follow.
go.
Just
Then let's
follow.
go. Let's go.
Okay. You guys make your way across this bridge that you have not seen yet. Long and wooden.
I'm gonna turn around. Punch Gunter. in the
Go ahead, do it.
Okay, make an attack
He deserves it every time. He deserves it.
I'm exhausted.
27.
Okay, it's like a full punch?
Yes.
Yeah, roll for damage.
No, you guys stop. We can't fight each other. I'm just sitting there looking like a bell. I'm like,
can't- you
stop.
can't, like, get
you
in between the top
guys, no.
Yeah, you take 5 points of damage.
Ah!
I am trying to help you.
How are you trying to win? Go to Colteron and you're
Shut
trying to help me.
your mouth.
You don't tell me what to do. You don't get to be 287 years old to get pushed
Guys,
around
we
in the
have to
middle
work
of the
together.
north.
I'm
To be
gonna-
fair, it's
can I
a
use
wonder you
finesse on
survived
both
this
of
long.
them?
You
Then
have to ask them because it's
leave.
really meant more towards
Fine.
monsters. So it's,
I'm leaving.
Well, it says if they're. Well.
Oh shit.
I'll see you in Colteron.
Goodbye.
Wait, no,
Are you
stop.
heading towards Colteron?
I'm gonna stomp away.
No,
Okay,
come
so
back.
Gunter about faces and heads
Yeah.
back in the direction that you,
You
guys just came.
guys.
He's not gonna go far. If he actually has survived as long as he has,
He's
he's
been
not
through
going to.
so much.
Yeah, which means he
We can't
knows that
just
he
let
would
him
die on his
go.
own. So let's go and
Means he
take
misses
care
out
of
on
this.
the things that I'm about to give the rest of you.
Let's go.
Let him
That's what I'm
pout
doing.
and tantrum. Let's go.
Yeah, we're used to it by now. I'm letting him do it, and I'm going with you.
What are you doing?
I
Mom?
feel no sympathy. I just tried to
You
help
watch
him out.
as Shay and Heinrich begin to walk towards this monastery, these beautiful walls and tiled ceilings and massive structures rising up. And you can see beyond that these kind of strange windmills or waterworks or something. But what are you doing? You also see the opposite
where'd he
direction.
go?
Gunter is walking in the opposite direction. Back in the
Stomping.
direction of the Frostmare, and then beyond that, the roads that you guys have traveled down. They're getting further.
I turn over like, Morwen, you coming? We can
We
find
have
it. We
to
can
go
find
get
him later. He won't make it far.
Okay.
And you guys begin to walk.
I'm doing this because that's how it probably looks like.
In your big
Yeah.
snowsuits, yeah.
I'm just like Frosty, where I just like the bottom moves.
Where are you heading?
I'm just going back to the Frostmare.
So you walk
I'm
back
gonna
to
go
To reap what you sowed
back to
in
the
his skin.
Frostmare, and then I'm gonna turn around, see if they're like trying to stop me at all.
So turning around, you see Shay and Heinrich begin to walk, and then you can see Morwen looking at you and then looking back at Heinrich and looking. She takes like a step in your direction, and then kind of like waddles to turn around, and then like waddles following them.
I guess I'm going to Colteron.
So you begin to walk back in the way that you came. You got to scale that cliff face and just kind of acrobatics yourself across it. But as you begin to walk, the three of you pass over this bridge and then go up a little bit of it's a staircase that is spiraled in stone, but it's carved into the actual mountain. So it's like a negative space and then comes out into a staircase and then a negative space. And you arrive on what is called
Still
the
just frowning this whole time.
the Plateau of Triumph. You guys, for the first time, see these beautiful trees with the almost cherry blossom-like leaves. And then, despite this beautiful, ornate gate, large doors that are open and have been open since the beginning of the monastery, you guys go left and avoid that. You walk on your left, passing a large tower, maybe 7 or 8 stories, birds cawing from within. You can see one Aarakocra
Yeah.
perched up on the top, just kind of keeping a watch. It is not Croddic.
You felt my
I
gaze.
did. You pass across and through these trees, and you come upon this very, very strange building. It's large, wooden, a workshop. Not necessarily in the Zinni style, although you can see in like the middle, in like a set-in part, a place that probably was originally a Zinni style building, but it's been swallowed by strange mechanical contraptions. You can see there are elements of buckets on different sort of pulley systems that are moving water to and from other areas in the building. There's like a large water tower, although it's open to the air and doesn't seem to have anything in it. You can see there are stairways that are corrugated metal, very, very clean and very shiny, that lead in different angles up and into what appears to be a very complex workshop. And despite the quietness that has taken most of Squall's End, this is a very busy place. This is a place that almost never sleeps. And you can see there are other Zinni monks that are walking to and from, but much more than the monks, you see people in these crafters' leathers, aprons and kind of long gloves and
Just tools
elements
and
of
pockets
protective
and
things.
stuff.
Yeah, you got screwdrivers and just
Sure.
other screwdrivers and a Phillips head and a flat. I only know screwdrivers,
Yeah.
but I know other tools. But they're
Ooh, a
walking to
monkey
and
wrench.
from. Yeah,
Oh,
there you go.
That was clever enough to not deserve a mark.
I'm not
I
giving
think
it
that was a good one. That was a good one.
not
That
giving
wasn't a
it a
shitty one.
So
That's a good bet.
it's still pretty bad.
give me a second, throw it on. All right, so you guys end up entering into, or what do you guys want to do? Do you want to enter?
I'm just following Shay.
I'm entering.
I'm taking it all in, being like, this is fucking rad.
I'm just following Heinrich, feeling really bad about Gunter and worrying.
I like
about
lean
him.
over. I'm like, don't worry about it. He's missing out on this. Just take it in. This is pretty freaking cool.
And so
We'll find him. He's fine.
you're entering for the main
You
entrance?
shouldn't be alone.
Yeah, well, he does that to himself. He doesn't allow anyone to help him.
As you guys walk
You
through
don't
this
try.
main entrance and you're having this conversation, the conversation is like a jolt because all of a sudden you just enter a darker space.
Uh-huh.
And looking throughout, I mean, there are these kind of skylights that are fairly smoky, and you can see there have been efforts to keep them clean that were probably abandoned some time ago. And the smog comes from a large sort of circular furnace, although now looking in, you can see this is not a furnace, this is molten metal. And you can see areas where it kind of drifts down into a trough and sort of out, and you can see areas where like ingots are being formed. And these ingots, as they cool, are being picked up by these gloved individuals. You can see like a halfling, a human, every now and then an elf, and being carried off to other elements. But this is a very vertical structure. There are stairs that lead up to walkways that go to platforms with tables on every single platform and people hard at work at various things. But up at the top, where he normally is, sort of overseeing operations, and overseeing is a strong word because he's generally working.
Yep.
There is a large table and this almost metal mesh floor, and you can see these toes kind of going through the mesh. And you smell tobacco. And you smell the very, very familiar sort of sense associated with Master Campbell.
I'm going up there.
Okay? You follow Shay.
Yeah.
You guys walk up, just clang, clang, clang up these metal stairs. And before you even get to the top, it's almost like 3 stories up that you're in this structure now. you're looking down and you can see there are people working on, in one bench, these tiny intricate parts, probably for a clock or a watch. And then off to the right, you can see a series of gems being sorted into different sizes, and you would see diamonds, sapphires, things like that amongst them. On another table, you can see somebody very, very delicately, like watching their hands, it looks as if they're doing nothing. And then you can see very carefully tooling some kind of a leather bag. Their hands moving so slowly, it's as if they're not moving at all, but you see a complex pattern and a very tired look on this elf's face. But above all of that, on this top platform, you can see this halfling. He would tell you that he has chestnut-colored hair, although it's all gone to like a salt and pepper gray. It's back and kind of messy, and there's an area very recently that's been burned away. You see a very kindly face, like his face a little bit wrinkled with smile lines and crow's feet. And he's holding out about this far the end of a pipe that spirals like this and then comes to his mouth. And the pipe itself, you can see, is shaped to be this bearded figure with these arcane marks on his cheeks, almost wizard-like in appearance. You would recognize, because he's told you this tale many times, the wizard that he traveled with and learned quite a few things about the wider world. You can see he's wearing, unlike most of the people that you've seen, not Zinni attire almost in any way. The only real nod, these foot wraps that he wears that have been modified to have the toes removed. Those toes now kind of gripped onto the metal mesh. And as he turns, he looks at you and he almost drops this pipe that he always has with him. And you can see the other hand is actually holding a wrench and currently tightening something. He does drop the wrench, which clang, 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 clang down. Everybody sort of turns in the immediate proximity.
I pick it up for him.
And he just takes it back, still like mouth open. Shay,
I'm back.
I can see that. It's been some time. And you bring with you friends, presumably?
Yes.
Tiefling, what is your name? And he's like looking up at you.
Yeah.
He's just about 5 feet
I
tall.
kind of like nod. Heinrich from of Port Quinn.
Port Quinn. It's been some time since I've been there myself. Probably about 100 years. It was a fairly new city when I had gotten there, just past a town.
Long before my time.
I'm not that old, but
I meant no offense.
I am pretty old. And you, what is your name? Tabaxi. I have not seen a Tabaxi in...
I'm Morwen.
Are you sweating in that in here? You're
I mean,
probably
she's a cat.
sweating in that in here.
So, your mouth is kind of like starting to hang open a little bit. He looks at you a little bit concerned. Just a moment. And he leans down to you,
Yep.
just taking a long pull on the pipe and just tobacco going by your face. Is she very fat, or is that just sort of...
She's wearing 2 coats.
Okay. Leans back over to you.
Nora, aren't you hot in here?
Very.
You could probably take those off, right? You don't have to.
I can probably come up with something a little bit more elegant. Oh, okay. You burst forth from your winter wear.
I go in the neck and then I.
Okay. You turtle it a little bit, and then you emerge a beautiful butterfly. As you all kind of look about the space, he smiles to you again and says, "So, what have you found? You did, I know Krodok brought back something very special.
Yes, I
think,
was hoping you knew what happened to it.
yes. It is something that I think Era intended to gift to you. I don't know if you've caught up with her, but she is under quite a bit of stress.
Only briefly, in the middle of the night. I didn't ask many questions last night.
Well, I'm glad that you went to see her at least. He takes another long pull on this pipe. I actually, as luck would have it, do have something for you as well. And he looks over, and you can see this big metal, almost like a bookcase, but there are gadgets just all over it. You can see like this weird visor. You see something that's like this carved spinning piece of wood that just seems to be like drilling almost into itself constantly. All kinds of little gizmos. And he sort of pushes some aside. He takes the pipe and clips it onto his belt, and you see it actually magnetically click onto his belt. And you would remember seeing Krodok having a similar sort of attachment, but for a weapon. And he sort of scrapes some things aside and tosses some things down, clang, clang, and just kind of goes over the edge. And you hear like a second later, cling, as it hits the ground. But finally he pulls away this piece of brass, and you can't see much, although it appears to be a mask of some kind. And he kind of covers it up. has a nice smile on his face. There are parts of your heritage that I think always set you a little bit apart from us, and I think maybe this might help in some ways. I hope you don't think it's childish. And he unveils this beautiful, it's like a mask of a hawk. And you can see it comes to like a ridge where the beak would be, but doesn't fully kind of create a beak. Each feather is individually gilded with gold. There are elements of this reddish metal that have been worked in to give it this beautiful red hawk kind of appearance. You can see the eyes are very dark, almost like a black lens within them.
And mine are very big.
I know that unlike a lot of us, you can't see in the dark. So when wearing this mask, you will be able to see as well as any of us.
Be incredibly helpful.
And he
Like,
just
oh.
hands it to you.
That's great.
Thanks.
And
And then I just kind of like, as I'm like thinking like, oh man, my useful, and I just like, bing, light on my my sleeve, and I'm like, meh, and I just dismiss it.
receive and he, you were saying? Sorry.
What? No, I'm just like, oh, that's very useful now, and I just kind of like, for one last time, go bing on myself, and then just shake it off.
Okay. But I think that will help you greatly. And
Tremendously.
seeing as what you've returned to the monastery, it is very exciting.
Yes.
Have you found out what it is?
Saddest
Has
breed.
Eri told you?
No, I have not been
Oh,
to see
I'm
him.
going to let her have her surprise then. But you will be quite excited. I think everybody has been quite excited.
Very excited to see. I did have a purpose in coming here. I was hoping perhaps,
All of us have purpose, Shay.
yes, you could perhaps outfit my friends with something. We have a long journey still ahead of us.
We're headed to
Well?
Kultaram, to be quite honest.
Why would you go to Kultaram? Shay, that's not what you're doing.
I wish it weren't.
He kind of like very uncharacteristically almost kind of like fumbles the wrench that you pass back to him and again sets it back on the table. Have you spoken to Krodok?
Not yet.
Should we? Think we should?
Yes, before you go, please
Oh,
talk
absolutely.
to him. He's seen what has happened and
Is he
he's
home?
in a way.
I
I-
lapse into Zinni for that question.
Okay. So all of a sudden, as Shay speaks something that you guys do not understand, and you would see Gamble kind of cast his eyes over at them for a second,
I just
and then switch
just
to
be like,
Zinni.
it's safe, I suppose. We can't understand you.
Do you not trust your friends?
I do. They don't know much.
Okay. I can probably do something to help. And he turns and back in common. So Shay has told me that you all might need some help with a very dangerous thing that I do hope you talk to Krodok about.
Oh yeah, we gotta talk to Krodok. Where's he at?
He's at home. Well, since we're already talking, what is it that you do? How could I help you?
What don't I do?
I mean, that would be helpful also.
Watch this. I do the finger trick.
He takes out his pipe and kind of like.
I know it's not this.
Yeah,
you know what
just
I'm talking
The
about.
finger trick. Yeah. All right.
Okay, I'll see what I have. And he
If you-
turns around and begins to sort through all of his inventions.
I
You
also
said-
do this. I whip up Frank the Skull and She's
turns
very,
to do
very
that.
sneaky.
And he stops and goes, "Is that a real skull?"
Yes, it's Frank.
Yeah,
Would you like to hold him?
it is.
the beholder, I just like and rotting.
It's like it's gross now. It's like shriveled up and purple.
Oh,
the
Frank,
yellow
you're so
cataract.
silly.
An old fried grape.
I kind of interject. I'm like,
Yeah, yes.
we've traveled very far actually.
Port
Sunrest,
Quinn is quite a.
Sunrest actually, and back.
You've been to Sunrest.
Yes.
I've heard fantastic things about the amount of enchanting that they can do there.
Yeah,
I've always wanted
yes.
to go, but I never made it
Yes.
myself.
A lot of bad things seem to be happening there and here and
Oh,
stuff,
yes.
and basically, we're trying to help
Well, I'm
that.
sorry, Heinrich.
Heinrich. Yes.
Heinrich. if so, there are many bad things happening, and if you have not spoken at length to Era, please do so.
Yes.
Things are very bad,
Yes.
but maybe we can make them better. So one moment,
That's the goal.
he turns around and you said, the finger trick is what you really want to go with here?
Yeah, but I whipped out Frank and I said she's very, very sneaky.
He turns to Frank and says, I'm actually a little bit at a loss as to what to do with your friend, but for being is she actually sneaky? I'm having trouble.
She's.
Did you even see that?
Yes.
She's handy with a sword.
And she can vanish pretty handily
Well,
into darkness.
okay, but she is.
Have
she's
you heard
sneaky.
of Batman?
Sneaky.
No, I'm just
She's-
kidding.
I've heard of that.
I'm kind of like Cat, but a woman. Like Batman, No, it's
So
bad.
yes, you're a tabaxi. You're like a cat woman. But if you are sneaky and you do spend your time in the shadows,
Disappears quite frequently and then reappears. She's.
I
If it
understand
means
what you're
anything,
saying.
Shay
I
has
understand.
trouble even locating her at some points.
He
Yes.
he goes back and when you say that, he does kind of nod and say that is very impressive.
He comes back with like a cat bell.
Perhaps a bit of a distraction, and he pulls off of the top shelf. He has to get up on his little tippy toes, which are like bare.
Do you need help?
He pulls it down and he turns and says, "No, young man, it's okay. I've got this." And he offers to you this. It's like a beautiful sort of wooden ball, but then you can see across it there are these kind of bronze, what look like tree roots that wrap around it, and they're ever so slightly lifted off the ball itself. And he hands it to you. What do you think?
What is it?
Oh, it's an invention of mine. Originally, what I was going to do was allow some of the mystics to cast spells at range using verbal components, but it didn't quite work out. Something about the weave not quite being able to penetrate the material, or something like that. Anyways,
Right.
so what you can do with it now, if you shake it and speak into it, it will repeat what you say every 12 seconds, or maybe it was every 24. I can't quite remember. But every couple of seconds, it will repeat 5 words that you say. So it's very good for setting up diversions and being able to sneak around the person that comes to investigate. I imagine if what Shay is saying, it would be very helpful.
I'm gonna
One-time
thaumaturgy.
use?
I'm gonna thaumaturgy on the other side
How
of
do I
her,
turn it
like
off?
throwing your voice like this.
Once it is shook again, the effect will unactivate, and you can set a new word if you wish. But that is what he gives you.
Snow globe.
Snow globe?
You
shake
just
it.
named it. You just named it. That's the name
It
of
is.
it.
I have called it the squawk box, but it is not a.
Squawk box.
It isn't really a fitting name. It isn't a box anymore after what happened last week. But it still works. And for you, Heinrich, what is it that you do?
To the best of my abilities,
Takes out
I
the
try
pipe
to.
again.
I try to like
Blows it out through his nose.
anything with protecting my friends. They seem to get into trouble quite a bit. Well, not Shay as much.
So
but-
protection.
Yes,
You're like a
but-
paladin or something.
Well, I'm not sure if that would be the right description, but if I'm not immediately able to throw myself in harm's way, something to help. You understand, right? Like
I mean,
say
do you
there's
want something that harms you?
No.
You-
no.
why are you
But to help
gesturing to
someone-
me?
He points at his face, and you can see there are like elements where bones have clearly been broken. There are
Yes,
areas
no,
of
not.
burns
I don't
and
want to
marks.
throw. I don't want to intentionally inflict harm on myself.
It's not intentional. Trust me. I have hurt myself
Well,
many
right,
times.
right,
Inventing
right.
is difficult.
Think more. I don't know. Something to help protect my friends.
Protect. That's all you need
That's
to
it.
say. Hang on. And he begins. You can see he takes off these like
I
mechanical
do a small
looking
eye
chopstick
roll
things
because
and
we
sets
left
them down.
Gunter.
You can see some other stuff.
I
and
trust
he
he's not going to go anywhere.
shifts out these metallic looking worms and kind of shakes them and puts them back. And then you see, I have something for you. Hang on. And he walks and you see him go down the stairs, clank, 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 clank.
Mm-hmm.
And he pulls out something from a lower shelf, a little black bag, and he brings it up. This is something of my own design. And I'm actually rather proud of it.
Well, never mind.
What?
Nothing.
Well,
It was more that he hurts himself when he does stuff.
yeah, it is my design.
That's not what I meant.
I know what you're saying. It is my own design, and it is. It actually more or less works as it's supposed to. but I call it Gamble's Ring of Force Feedback. And he hands to you, beautifully polished. There is this, it is, so it is this very complex ring that is made out of wrought iron and silver. And you can see it seems to twist together in such a way so that it forms almost like this clasping hands. And there is this little sapphire that seems to float within it. It lets off this very, very faint light. And it is shaped very oddly, almost like in the Sims, that little thing that hangs above your head.
Yeah.
And it drifts ever so slightly. And he says, this is especially made for any kind of damage with a significant amount of force. You won't take the damage, probably. And it will store within the ring, and the next time that you are hit by somebody, everybody around you is going to have a bad time. And he hands you the ring.
Very cool.
It is worth noting, though, be very mindful about how much force is being stored,
Sure.
or else you'll blow up.
Yeah.
And he takes a long pull of the pipe again, and,
Yeah.
and now he kind of pats out the remaining tobacco and seems to be tamping more back in.
Okay.
But
Thank you very, very much. Genuinely.
well, something that we are very passionate about within the area is just helping each other out. In my own practices, I've taken the path of the artisan, and while I am a monk, not anywhere near as talented as young Shay is over there, I do consider myself a master of certain arts, and in the pursuit of perfection, I have much to give away. But there is something for you that Era has, and you should certainly pick it up. Please talk to Krodik. I don't know if you've all met Shay's friend.
Sure have.
You guys have known each other since childhood, practically. But I don't know if you know how I met Shay.
No.
Well, Shay was just a little girl. I believe you were 7. Yes. And I caught her tottering around town, and I was helping Krodik actually build his house. It had burned down. You see, it's how Krodik lost his parents. And Shay jumped right in and requested to help, and one of the hardest workers I'd ever met. At 7 years old, I was very impressed. And so I did teach Shay a thing or two. You remember that boat that we made?
Yes.
Fantastic work.
Many times.
Well, it didn't always work out quite so well, but you were learning, and I do have a bit of a chaotic nature.
Yes.
But Shay is a wonderful assistant, a fantastic artisan, and a better monk, and as you've probably learned, a great person. And so you are all very lucky to have her within your group.
Oh, we agree.
Well, splendid. And he takes another puff of this long pipe.
Can I try it?
Not from this. And it clicks to his waist in a very magnetic way. But he pulls out a much simpler sort of pipe and tamps some more tobacco in and hands that to you.
You just went to hold a lighter.
It, yeah, I know. It is this sort of circular thing, and he looks and just says, sorry. And he reaches behind and shoves some stuff away from the shelf, and he pulls out what looks very much like a Zippo lighter. Although...
Oh, I know how to work these.
Make a performance check.
What the fuck was this? Woo!
And be mindful, I said sort of like it is very much like a Zippo.
Except that when you do that, it
Blows
has
up.
fireball.
Yeah, sure.
That is, a 17.
Okay. It opens up, and this little flame drifts up into a ball and just stays suspended in front of you. And you can see it is burning, and it is crackling a little bit. And
It's just suspended in front of me?
And you can see as you hold it up, the
Scoop
flame
it.
into the pipe itself, and it does ignite, and it lets out this beautiful, almost in ways grapeseed tasting, but very, very mellow tobacco. And as you exhale it, it is more, it's like the smell of blueberries. It's much more about smell than the pipe leaf or the stargrass that you are typically used to smoking. And even your motions for it, very much indicative of that. But he watches with a little bit of pride, and he says, that's an invention of mine also. I call it the firer.
I'm not taking like a deep, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
And
I'm
as you do kind of puff on it, it is tobacco. It's not It is
Okay.
not
Okay.
purple.
No, I take a deeper hit then.
Yeah. And again, not a
I don't know. What? Pull? I don't know.
You draw it more.
I don't smoke
Poof. You poof
pipes.
it. You
I don't
poof
know.
You poof it.
It. Just poof it.
I
You poof it.
I poof it a little harder.
Dumbledore-sized poof.
So many proofs are had, and Shay, Gamble turns to you.
P-O-O-V.
I am very lucky. Many of my fellows stayed. There is no real place outside of Squall's End to perfect the arts in the ways that we wish to. And so we will stay and we will be loyal. We are not fighters. And I don't know if you know this, but many of the guard have left.
I had heard.
So you know them.
Yes.
I am very sorry.
Yes.
But if there is anything I can do, please let me know.
There's just another conversation that needs to be had. There's still too many smoke and daggers and mirrors. And...
We are living in a
being
time
honest.
where it seems that our path is not clear.
Yes.
You should talk to Era.
That is next on my agenda.
Well, that's good. That's splendid.
Yes.
And he unclips the pipe and takes another long pull. Is there anything else from you?
Yeah, can you tell me more about Craddock? What's he like? What's his type?
Make a persuasion check.
Oh, now can I use panache?
Yes.
Yeah!
That's just...
I panache him.
Okay. Make your persuasion roll.
What is he
Okay.
like?
Panache.
Persuasion. That's 11.
I'm not sure what there really is to tell about Craddock that he couldn't tell you himself. And Shay said that you were probably going to talk to him. He's Eric Okrin. He is an orphan, as I've already said.
How do
He
you
is,
say hello in
Shay, he's a very broken person.
I had gathered as much.
I warn you that going to see him isn't going to be pleasant.
Few things these days are.
Too true, unfortunately. If you do go see Craddock, and he turns around again and pulls out like a little jar, you can see within it there is like a little kind of almost like a gilded metal flower. Would you give this to him for me, please?
Gladly.
Thank you.
Yes.
Your friend is very outgoing.
Thank you.
Ingenuity, that's a word for it.
And then he tells you the actual word that he's thinking of,
Rude.
which is outsider.
Yes.
Yes.
But, strange winds do bring interesting
Things.
seeds. But if you were going to talk to Craddock or Aaron, now would be a great time.
Yes.
If you do need anything, though, please come back. And please just come back in general. It has been a long time.
It is my plan. I
Oh,
don't...
and please come back before you leave, because I am excited to see how you receive the news.
I will. I will drop by.
Good.
One more thing.
Of course, Heinrich.
We have a friend
That's
who
good.
has been afflicted by this sleep issue. He's being visited by...
That's the dragon.
Yeah.
Yes. As you've probably noticed, it is affecting most of us.
It seems so, yeah. Fortunately, I haven't had the displeasure of that occurrence, but have
That's
you
odd.
figured out anything? Well, I
I haven't either.
got a good...
Also,
he doesn't sleep.
what? And he's so caught off guard by
Well,
that. In
yeah,
common, he says, "What do you mean he doesn't
well,
sleep?"
anyways,
No, this isn't really in any ways.
well, it's more that I want to try to help my friend. Have you figured out any way to help people with that affliction, or at least like give them respite?
we're really just kind of glossing over the fact that you have discovered a way to not sleep. That seems like it would help your friend, and also I am very intrigued because I have a lot of work. to
Could
do.
not tell you the first thing about it. It comes from the book that's like at my head. I'm like, comes from this, I think. And I kind of like, it comes from
Flanks.
my butt. No, it comes from, and I just kind of like unclasp it and I hold it up
That
This.
is a very interesting book.
Yeah.
That's celestial.
Sure.
I mean, yes, it is.
I believe you. I
speak
believe you.
6 languages, not that one, but that
I read apparently all of them now.
you're an interesting person. Shay, thank you for coming by.
I thought you'd
What
appreciate
about
it.
me?
Yes.
What?
Before you leave,
One moment. Would you maybe want to take? I wouldn't mind staying here, but I feel like we should maybe. Any things that need to get done should be done in a timely manner. I do worry about Gunter.
Oh, now you do.
I do.
Good to know.
Of course I do.
Of
course I do.
And all of the rest of my errands can be done, so you all can leave after this if you wish.
Less that, more you can do that while I stay here and converse. If you need to do
just as
things.
interesting as in this conversation as you are.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, what's up with that eye?
I don't know.
Can I touch it again?
No, that still hurts. It's still an
I'm
eye.
still here
We'll
too.
see.
Yes, continue.
He
You were
takes
asking
another-
questions
another
I
pull
will
on the
do
pipe.
my best to answer.
So I am very interested in this because actually this is a little bit tied in with the thing that you apparently brought back. This is very exciting. Where are you going next?
Colteron.
In the grand scheme of things, yes. But I mean, currently, where is your path bringing you after here?
Would I know?
I mean, where are you going after you leave Gamble's workshop?
Oh, to Era's next.
I think, if you wouldn't mind, I would like to accompany you, and we can have
Oh,
our
I
discussion
wouldn't-
later.
sure.
But this is very exciting.
Yes.
I just assumed that you seemed firmly planted here and busy at work. I didn't.
I am, but speaking of dragons, speaking of Koltaram, that is very interesting. We should go. We should go. We should
go.
definitely go.
Let's
and
go.
He takes
go.
off his crafting gloves and he puts them away. He puts his pipe on the table and he begins to walk away.
I'm following.
I put on my
He's just
I
like.
layer up, and I've got the flower.
Pull the
But
first
he's
jacket
just
on,
like
put the second jacket on.
walking off somewhere.
He's walking downstairs, back down in the direction that you guys came up.
I see.
It's interesting to
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
interesting
I
to
figured that.
you
But why is he
because
leaving? That's
he's leaving his pipe there. And he is so excited at this moment that he's actually parting from something that you have never seen him put down.
I'm
Clang, clang, clang. The feet kind of go down the stairs, and you can see he's like halfway down like the workshop floor. There are people looking at all of you, and they have been since the very loud exclamation previously. But you watch, and he kind of turns around and goes, "Come on, come on!"
And I
for
pick up the
a-
pipe and I'm just like, eh?
And he,
No, I'll
he's
bring it
running
down, I'll bring
back,
it down, I'll bring it down,
and
I'll
he's
come down.
So you guys kind of meet halfway on the staircase,
Yeah,
and he
and I
takes
just-
it and just goes, "I like you even more." And he clicks it onto his belt. "Come, we must go." And he again scurries out. While all this is happening, Gunter, you are walking through the snow and towards the outskirts of this place. There are people passing you by. You're now on Hawker's Row, and you can see there is this sort of like a little horse or a larger kind of donkey, maybe. It's like a cross between the two. Is stopped and is currently like it has a feeding bag on, and you can see there's like a merchant that is now inside of the shop called Wonders. And as you continue to walk, people watch as you pass, but nobody really pays too much attention. You get to the outskirts. Where are you going?
I'm gonna look around and be like, where do I go?
And what are you thinking? Where are you trying to determine what direction will
Like-
bring you there?
Well, I'm like, I know realistically I can't go alone, but I do need to get there.
So you're just making a
But I need to make them feel bad.
Okay.
I don't feel bad. That's the
So-
thing.
feel bad.
I don't think it's gonna work on Heinrich anymore. It might, depending on what you do.
It's already
I
working
noticed
on
the
me.
shop.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna go see if there's anything there that I can, I guess, not buy, but
Sure.
persuade with.
You totter in, and you emerge into the shop called Wonders. Wonders. Oh no! I pressed the wrong button.
Is it written in all like 12 languages that every sign is written in here?
It is not the only sign. So there was a couple signs written like that.
Yeah.
There are a few that are written in different languages for very specific reasons.
Okay.
This is in common, and then you would see there's a symbol up on a wooden sign, and you're starting to realize these decorative wooden pieces on top of each structure do have patterns to them, and are probably Zinni signs that are saying roughly the same thing. But as you enter, you can see it's like a long, flat shop. And it features these like very, very strange items on this one long table. There are currently, I believe, 4 of them. And as you walk, there's 3 of them actually. And as you walk in, you can see that there is a mountain elf. Sort of orange to brown skin. You can see your hair is very, very short, almost bald, with like a little bit of a peach fuzz. Your ears coming up to long points that kind of go behind. She's wearing very simple, light blue zinni robes with a simple orange sash around her waist. And she turns to you. Hello.
Alright.
Welcome to Wonders. I am one of the students of Gamble. You must be interested. What services are you offering?
I was gonna see what you had to sell. What do you...
We don't really sell here. We operate on trade and on...
Oh yeah, the bartering thing. Alright, well, show me what you got and I can do something for you, I guess.
Okay. She pulls you over to the table and she brings out this... it's a iron rod. About this long, it's like a pipe almost, and it comes to 2 very, very pointy tips. Although, looking at them, you can see there is just a very, very slight bluntness to the end of it. This is a lightning rod. Okay. There are 2 other things that might be of interest to you. She puts it down and picks up what looks like a yellow, almost Batman-style belt. Like it looks like it has little compartments, and you can
Why not
see
Catwoman?
on each compartment there is what looks like a very stylized white and blue star. This, I believe, was a product of Grumbles. It is called
What's
the
a
belt.
gamble?
He is a halfling. He's a master artisan.
Oh.
He's a fantastic inventor. You don't know who Gamble is?
No. Why would I ask if I didn't know who he was?
Because presumably you're from Koltaram or Stonefloor.
No.
Okay. Well, this is it's
Tough
a belt,
crowd.
and when utilizing the stars that are on the belt, interesting point of fact, not necessarily sure that it's a she. The voice is feminine, but the qualities are very androgynous. But we'll say for now, pull the belt around in their hand, and you can see each little compartment has a star. Expending one of these stars will change the constellations in a certain area. Not necessarily useful in the way it was intended, but it is a very cool thing.
Okay.
And the final thing, she places it down. You can see a little bit of an eye roll. She
The lightning
hands to
round has a
you-
missed opportunity.
She pulls off the cloth from this item, and there's nothing underneath. And as she stretches this gray cloth in her hand, she holds it out to you and says, this is I honestly cannot tell you an interesting thing to do with this. It's Master Gamble dubbed it the trader's cloth.
Trader's cloth. Why
It's-
don't you... Yeah, the trader.
Well, let me demonstrate. And she takes it, and you watch as her hands work it into a fairly simple knot. Take this end, please. So it just won't work. And as she pulls it, the knot just undoes itself, and it's just a straight piece of silk. So any knot, unfortunately, in this material seems to just undo itself.
That was the most interesting one out of all of them.
He just starts crying. It's beautiful.
It was originally designed to make knots that could actually bear water a little bit better, but unfortunately, it seems to be a little too sleek. The trader's cloth, because the person who tried it fell very far.
So
Unfortunately.
What kind of service do I do for any of this junk?
Well, it's not junk. It's just because it doesn't work in the way that it's intended. Master Gamble tells us that doesn't mean
just
it's
because it doesn't work the way it's intended doesn't mean it's not junk.
You're
Okay.
just repeating my words. But
Yeah.
it's good that you are learning them.
Yeah.
Well, at the moment, we do find ourselves in need of several materials, actually. Heartwood, we need dragonstone, we need raw silver, would be great. If you've come across any platinum, that's always useful. Gems are generally things that we need in the crafting trade. If you're looking to what sort of services do you offer?
I can do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but it sounds like you need someone else, because I'm a bit busy. I don't got time to go running errands for you for this junk.
Okay, well, you're clearly an outsider, and I wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, you too. You're going to need it.
You walk out the door, and as you do, you can see she does kind of follow you, watching you out. And are you turning back and looking at her at all?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm done with that.
In this cinematic world, the camera pans over to her, and you watch as she kind of waves to the other shop owners and just makes like a this motion. But Gunter does not see that. Cutting back quickly to the three of you. You guys going to see Era?
Yes.
Okay. You pick your way through the streets, seeing past you these beautiful Zinyi buildings, single tiles carved out of stone laid across each structure, beautiful signage that to you guys, and even for you, this isn't a language, and so you can't quite decode what these wooden, almost totem pole-like, but horizontal structures are. But you can watch as Shay sort of looks at them. You do pass other people in the street now. Everybody looks tired. This is like a town of zombies. You can see large bags under many eyes. There are halflings here, and looking at these halflings, they don't seem necessarily affected by this. But you continue on and eventually make your way to the Court of Mystics.
Shay. Oh. Because I noticed that. Have there always been halflings in this town? Okay. You notice how they don't seem as tired as the rest.
And hearing this, Gamble would turn around as you guys are walking. Yes, so when you originally had asked me about perhaps ways of stopping sleep, that's mostly what I meant. That is my way. I'm a halfling. And for some reason, we don't seem to be too affected.
Her gaze doesn't... Never mind.
What?
Nothing.
Shay?
No.
They're short.
I'm glad that went over his head.
I don't say that out loud. But I giggle. I'm in my big snowsuit. I'm just like...
You lose a mark, because I got you.
I hate it. So,
No. All right. Well, is it... What have you deduced anything from that?
a few things. I think part of it has
Something
to
of
do...
the earth, maybe?
Well, sort of. There's been 3 ages in Alberon.
Right.
And though all of you would hail from what they call, unfortunately, the civilized races, there are some that existed before the Third Age. The dwarves, some of them, claim to have existed before, and halflings, certainly. We came during the end of the Second Age. And it seems that those born during the Age of Dragons are not born, but those whose heritage stretches
sure.
back.
Their blood, one might say.
Yes. It seems as if those races inherently are not affected by Kinescale. And so it's a little bit of an unteachable thing, I'm sorry to say for your
Not
friend.
necessarily teaching, but... I wonder. So,
Between you and me,
manipulating that somehow?
perhaps.
No, maybe.
This is the place. Unfortunately, the person that would have known the answer to that was Master Solano, and he is no longer with us. But it is possible to rearrange the inner force of a person, the key. It is not...
Key? I mean, I know what it is, but yeah.
As life force, if you will.
Shay understands it much better than me. My path has not taken me in the pursuit of such a thing. But it is how many of the Zinyi activate and utilize a lot of their abilities. They realign this energy that flows within them and within all of us, really.
I've seen the effect of it, for sure. But,
Shay has always been very talented in the martial path.
right. Okay. It was just a thought. If there's no one that can help,
Between you
that's
and
all.
me, I've noticed many of the dwarves are quite sleepy as well. I think one of the unfortunate silver linings of this is that we can finally put that myth to rest.
Okay. Still strange, though. Anyways.
And at this point, you guys do arrive into the Court of Mystics. You can see, I would say for you, a magic practitioner, very distinctly laid out in a way so that there is a point in this courtyard that represents each of the schools of magic. In this space, it's hard to make out each individual building. It is a very wide space, a lot of open ground between buildings. The largest building is in the center. You know this as the dormitories of the Mystics, three-tiered structure, and now it is a lot busier. There are people passing through. You can see here and there are elements of magic being used. You see some that you have not seen before. But as you are taking this in, a woman approaches. A half-elf, or no, sorry, not a half-elf, a mountain elf, that you know as Era. She is very composed. As she approaches, there is this very serene nature to her. And the people, not terribly pushed together in this space, go out of their way to make way for her. She carries with her not an air of authority, but definitely an air of power and respect. And in some cases, because you have seen it, unfortunately, manipulated in a terrible way, there is admiration in their eyes. But she approaches and comes to a very still posture. Because it's like 10:40, we're going to take a quick break.
Oh, shit.
So 10:40 o'clock, we're going to come back right around 11. So, 10:55, good for everybody, 15 minutes?
10:55 o'clock.
10:55, we will be back to continue this adventure in Squall's End. So we'll see you in 15 minutes.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
and welcome back to Adventures in Alberon. Thank you very much for those of you who stuck with us through the break. Good night to Dicey Encounters, although not good night to his awesome line of dice, which you could find at diceyencounters.com or dicey_encounters on Instagram. E was super nice enough to make all of us custom dice that are like super sweet, and like, you know, you got like these really great Alberon inked dice.
And Tina's with a friggin' feather.
Yeah,
which
feathers
is
in
the
the
coolest.
dice. Yeah, Heinrich's gonna be getting new dice to represent his character. So a lot of really cool things that
Yeah.
are
I'm
going
not
on.
an asshole anymore.
Those aren't as relevant.
Well, hey,
Anyways,
arguably.
bringing us back,
Not as much as
Depends who you ask.
Yeah, don't feel like I'm. Anyways,
pulling us back into our story. In front of you, there is this very somewhere between
austere.
Austere is a great word. Somewhere between austere and haughty.
Okay.
There is an edge of, as she looks at you, you're aware of the fact that, well, she's looking down at you because she is quite tall. Not actually that tall. She's kind of looking down at you. But she turns, looking at your friends who are a tabaxi and a tiefling. Shay,
Yes.
these are your companions.
2 of 3.
Your path has brought you interesting company.
Yes. In a word.
I came here to bring you to something that you actually retrieved for us.
The reliquary.
Yes,
What was in it?
come with me. And she begins to walk. She holds herself very straight and rigid. And you can see there is a moment where, as you are heading towards this building, it's just like a almost black ramp that's about 4 feet off the ground. And as you approach it, she waves her hand, and elements of the stone just scrape away and reveal the staircase that goes up to this sort of tall, it's like a sandstone colored dome with a set of stairs that goes down fairly deep. You would know that this is the library, we'll call it. Although Shay would know. Oh wait, we're going deeper here.
That
Shay
was the
would know.
box that you gave him, right?
Yeah.
That was like that.
Yeah,
That was the box.
That was the box that the whole story kind of started with
Right.
Heinrich
What's
chancing
in the
into.
box?
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
I hope
We
it's
all
a
know.
head,
It was probably something nicer than that.
more beholder eyes.
Okay, so within the structure, as you descend these stairs, there are. It's fairly dark until you come to another archway, and beyond it, though not a lot of light, you can see there are like pale flickers, almost like firelight. And as you progress to a point where you can see beyond this archway, you can see, in ways reminiscent of a library. There are these long shelves that go around this circular building that's been set fairly deep into the earth itself, and so there are no windows. But you can see on each shelf there are not books, but rather very similar to Bernal's lenses, these panes of glass just carefully slotted into place. Some different colors, some look a little bit older and kind of yellowed with time. But it is sort of like a library of glass. And you can see now, thinking about all of this, this entire place is shaped almost like an amphitheater. And you can see at the front a very flat surface. Shay, you would know when light is placed behind one of these lenses, it does broadcast a broad image on which can be read, can be seen. Information is stored in this way by the Zinni because it's much lighter weight. And there are other ways that you can code messages into these that are not immediately obvious. As you descend, there's a woman who comes up. You can see very dark skin, this whitish hair, elf, drow, although none of you would know that. Maybe you, maybe. But this drow, you can see very well suited. You can see the dark sort of skin, and even as you enter, she kind of squints a little bit, and Aria, and Era just kind of says, "We need this room." And this woman with the dark skin just bows and goes up the stairs. Era looks around. It seems that we have this place to ourselves. Please, come with me. And she leads you through some of these stacks of glass lenses and brings you out to sort of almost like a stage, raised about 2 feet up. And you could see upon it the same box that you guys found so long ago back in Port Quinn.
A year ago.
A year ago. In game,
Probably like a few months.
117 days.
Yeah, in real
But
life.
you, in real life, yeah, a year ago. And you can see, similarly, it is this beautiful gold with an off sort of green color. Although now that you look, the pattern no longer seems to shimmer against it. That weird holographic sort of repeating arch is gone. And there is darkness around where the top used to be. You can see that it is now open. You can see next to it the top is placed. And then next to that, a peculiar sort of rod in the same sort of metal and style as this box. Shay, as you are the one who recovered this, I think you should be the person to remove it. Nobody has touched it, though many have wished, myself included.
I'm gonna walk up to it.
You walk up to this box and you see, sitting on a cold metal surface, what looks to be almost like a necklace. And looking at it, it's more of a chain than a necklace, and it comes to this sort of charm. Although now looking in and looking closely, it's thousands of strands of iron and silver and brass and a variety of colors that have been woven together to create something that looks almost like a container of some sort. It's stopped with a little metal piece that looks almost like a lock. And you've heard many stories of this, and it's described as different things. But even as you look upon it, there is this sense of energy and this sense of power and this sense of otherness, something that doesn't quite belong here. And you look upon the binder, artifact within the Zinyi that would stand with the Turin Shroud, with the Ark of the Covenant. This is something that, though often spoken about, has not been seen.
Right.
You can see this piece, though intricately carved, not of Zinni design. This is older. This is pre-Third Age, probably pre-Second Age. Mm-hmm. And you think about the dragons, or the giants of the First Age crafting something so small, that doesn't necessarily fit in your mind either. Mm-hmm. But as you sort of come around, your hand's almost drawn to this thing. Do you pick it up?
I do.
That is what you have. Aira watches you take it. Many have wished to pry within and discover what it holds. It hasn't been used in many centuries, and so whatever creature resides within, I do not know. We've searched, and she sweeps her hands across just countless glass lenses. We have searched hard to find what might be within, and there is something within. We can tell that. Mm. That is very powerful, and it is very precious. And Shay,
Yes.
you are both of those things to me.
I appreciate that.
Oh.
We live in a time of uncertainty, and we live in a time when many who I have felt privileged to be part of the quilt that I have woven, they have slipped away.
Yes.
She switches into Zinyi. I know that you cannot see it, but in my soul is a raging storm. I cannot help but feel responsible for part of this.
What happened, Aira? Tell me.
She switches back into common. I don't know those of you who Shay has allied herself with, but I consider Shay my own. And so if she trusts you, I will extend that same trust to an extent. There has been a schism within the Zinni. Hylan has encouraged others to join, and slowly they are. She sows untruths. She has ways of turning people. I fear that she's not entirely within her own mind. There are things at work that we do not understand, and the listener has been absent for some time. It was hoped that maybe he could shed light in the way that only he might be able to, but he is taken very ill, and I wonder if Hylan might be behind that. Almost everything here has fallen to me. I oversee the guard, I oversee the people. I try as hard as I can to extend protection where it is needed in the north, but we are drawn in. We are spread thin. And Shay, I don't know what to do.
What do you need?
I was hoping, and she turns again to all of you, perhaps together we might shed some light on this darkness. Where is it that you found this reliquary?
I look very pointedly at you.
Her gaze shifts over to you as well. And as she looks at you, there is something deep and penetrating in that gaze. And for just a moment, you're pulled back to Euthelius, who also seemed to be able to just steer straight through you. Huh?
Which one was that?
Euthelius was the harbinger of the Church of the Six.
Right. Well, it was in possession of a friend who got it from some shipment heading to Port Quinn. It was heading north from the south. That's
The
all I'm
tiefling.
aware. Yes.
He was here. We
What?
brought him because he was in possession of something that to us is a very valuable very valuable thing to Alberon.
Sure. He obviously had no idea of its value.
We learned that
Yeah.
rather quickly. He has headed in the direction of Kolteram. He left with a group of tieflings.
Right. So I keep hearing.
I think his intent was to splinter off, though, and head back to Dominion, to Port Quinn.
Mm.
I don't know if he stayed with them or not, because he did leave. He committed a minor act of wrongness, and I think he was not aware of what that strand might untie.
How do you mean?
This thing that Shay has found,
This is the strand you speak of.
it is much more than a necklace.
Sure. I gathered by the weight that you guys are giving it.
On its own, it is quite powerful, but when combined with its other constituent parts, it will create something that very well might save us all. Have you heard of Have you heard of talking?
I do
Because I
that.
have not.
I do that sometimes.
Have you heard of the Staff of Twisted Fates?
Yes, actually. From the Lorebinder Academy, there was a book on it.
A fairly knowledgeable bunch, the Lorebinders.
Mm-hmm.
But the Staff of Twisted Fates, I always knew it was real. Even when I arrived, even when it was spoken of as a lesson, a parable, I knew something about it drew me to it. It is something that can create and destroy. It can bind and it can set free. It is something of immense power, and in the stories, there is talk of it repelling a blue star that was attempting to fall onto Alberon.
Right.
I don't know how much you study the skies, but something about me leads me to believe that you might be tied to them in a way that maybe you do not fully understand.
I mean, if you're talking about, and I look over to halfling guy, Gamble, and I'm just like, the book, is this all?
Yeah, you should show
Yeah,
her the
okay.
book.
And then I'm just like, so,
Era looks at it. She doesn't touch it.
Yeah. I'm not like it's more just like a look at it, not touch it thing. I'm not letting anyone touch this book.
Very interesting.
This I found.
And you can see she smiles a little bit.
I found this, and it seems to be the source of most of what I can do as of late. Recent acquisition, not something I'm familiar with. Haven't had much time to really explore it.
Make a wisdom saving throw.
Oh shit. I'm gonna just message her, be like, "Fuck you."
Are you?
No, I'm not. I'm not. It's a 1, so she can. Whatever.
Message her
You
potato.
watch as she looks deeply
I say potato.
into your gold and black eyes.
Oh.
You did not find that book.
What did it find me?
It was given to you.
Yeah, by whom?
You don't know.
Not yet. I've been trying my hardest. I get the weight and I get the sense that there is someone, if that's a fair word to use, behind it.
It is.
But I don't know how to reach out to them or reach out in that direction.
To consider is to grow. Nothing must cloud your thoughts. And it seems if you have not found your answer, there is more searching to do. The book that you have is not one of this plane. It is from the upper planes, and it is generally something carried by something known as a solar. A powerful celestial being, usually dispatched from the gods themselves from beyond our realm. For this to happen, such a being must have taken notice of you. I am a spiritual person, not religious, but you should be honored.
Do me next.
Well, before... Hold on, I do have a question.
Well, hang on one sec, because that,
God damn it.
that
Can
takes
you
attention.
really...
No, fine. I say that when this is done. When
Okay.
you're done.
Thank you.
I want to be done next.
Does, in the limited amount of communication I've achieved trying to reach out, one of the only things that has really stuck was I was told to go to the watch, if that means anything to you. I would appreciate
She's like
it.
regarding your eyes a little bit. You are very interesting in that you walk far down a path that you don't see.
It's kind of been my whole life. I've been kind of just wandering, trying to find the path that apparently I've been on.
She turns to you, Shay, and in Zinni she says, still same exact expression, same exact tone. He could be very dangerous. If Hylan understands how impulsive he is, she will use him.
This I know. I've done my best to shield them.
You do well, but do better.
Oh.
She turns back to you. I think for you to truly understand what it is that you wield, you know of Helm.
Sure.
I think you would do well to keep him in your mind. And be mindful that the gods themselves do not visit this plane. They cannot.
Something like the intermediary that you're describing, the solar.
Intermediary is a word.
Well, from my perspective, that seems like the most apt description.
The
I know I
watch.
am not godly myself, so obviously it's
You know of Uriel's watch.
I've heard of.
It wasn't a question. She was telling you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still answering it like that.
Uriel's watch hails from the north. Beyond here, in the Northlands. there was a time where it was my home. They were protectors, charged by the World Shaper to keep watch over the north and its many mountainous places. They could not succeed in their task, and so they came here. The World Shaper is a solar. I don't believe that they know that. But they are. You may wish to talk to them.
How far is that? Where they reside?
They're around us. We've had trouble keeping track of them, but they do have...
You mean the Uriel's watch?
Yes.
Right.
They set up things called refuges, and we do know where one is. Shay, how did you reach Squall's End?
I give her the path.
Silent step.
Well, you passed nearby. But back near where the quick cut mines are.
Oh, you mean the pulley system thing?
Yes, actually. If
Fuck me.
you had traveled across that, you would have come mostly to the base of the refuge. The refuges are not populated. They are visited from time to time by members of the Watch, used as temporary bases as far as we can tell. They seem to help the North, and so we have not looked too hard.
Is there one between here and Koltaram?
It is possible.
You do not know of one.
They are very good at not being seen if they do not wish to be.
We don't have the manpower currently to find
Right.
them.
Right. Any trackers? No. You know what? I'll work on that on my own. You have enough going on. I appreciate that information, though. I had an inkling that that was where my path led me, but it is... Then I look at you, I'm like, mine to walk? Is that a good thing to say?
She turns to you now, and switches over to Zinni, and she says, "You have done well."
I tried.
She switches back to you. In common.
Mhm.
I think you being here, the binder finally being found and set free, which in and of itself, finding the attunement rod for that was a different challenge.
Can believe it.
But I don't believe in coincidence.
I'm starting not to either.
The entire world is something that has been woven carefully. And I think when strands cross like this, there is a reason. I'm glad that Shay found you.
Me too. Me too.
Me too.
You've been very quiet.
Yeah. I'm patient.
out where all the other
Well,
boxes are.
it's
Can
interesting
you tell
to
me
be...
about my path? And I bring out the skull.
Okay.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
He turns and looks at this desiccated skull with this like old...
Oh no, I chucked the
Okay, you chucked
beholder.
the beholder
Yeah.
eyeball.
I went.
Yeah. Okay. It is a desiccated, like, old skull that you found long ago deep within the Cortego hideout area. She peers the skull and looks up at you. Your path is complicated.
Uh-huh.
I see death in your future.
I put Frank away. My dad?
Eventually.
Is that the death you see?
No.
Who's death?
I'm unsure of what your thoughts on me are, but I don't see the future. I see 2 swords by your side and a skull in your bag.
Well,
I would imagine that you will create it.
Aren't we all God's creature? No, I don't know. No.
I just
No,
vomit
I don't say
profusely on the
that.
floor.
I do not say that.
Projectile vomit into the reliquary, seal it, and then throw it at Morwen's face.
Gunter Quest. Let's find out.
So, you see Eric kind of look around.
Created. Oh, okay.
Please.
Created how?
With the pointy end.
Looking at you
That's your turn.
and the company that you keep, and knowing Shay as I do, you are not a pacifist. But if you do wish to know what I see when I look at you, it is not a tabaxi. I am not sure of what you are.
Me neither.
When things are lost, there is usually a reason. You haven't been found yet.
How do I get found?
That is not up to you.
Can I get a hint?
You tell me.
Please?
I'm afraid it doesn't work like that.
Okay.
She switches back over to Disney.
Yeah.
She doesn't look at you, but she's looking still at Morwen, and she kind of like out of the corner of her mouth, sort of says,
Laughs at me? No, I'm just.
yeah, Inzini, she laughs. She's just different.
So it's ha ha ha, but with J's.
And I'm just like, is she okay?
You she turns to you and Inzini says, I don't know if your friend understands this, but she has no path. She is very fortunate.
Oh.
As in, like, you're free. You're actually free.
Suckers.
It's very interesting.
There is something else. I think, given your path, and the one that it seems you have brought all of us on.
Wait, is this in common now?
Yes.
Okay.
In looking for tales of this, we came across something very interesting. And she pulls out of her pocket one of these lenses about this big. She holds it up in front of this large, broad wall, and she casts light and shines. And you see in front of you, cast onto the wall, a map. Which I'll give to you. Oh, wait, it's over here.
Maps.
Is that where all the boxes are? I don't say that.
Why not?
I will be asking, but not now.
Like a treasure map?
Wrong.
How you doing, Gunter? Learning any cool stuff over there?
You learning any lessons over there?
Did you get peered into your soul and told about your path? Or your
There's so many maps that you guys
lack
haven't-
thereof?
I haven't found yet. Not that. Okay. Sorry.
Crinkly, crinkly, crinkly.
Yeah. If you guys want to put that out, you see broadcast on the wall. Very
Do we have weights?
interestingly.
Us. Ah, not heavy enough.
No.
Wait, let's just advertise these dice that he made for us.
Yes.
Ah, shit, not heavy
Okay.
enough.
Thank you.
Health potion for you.
Yum, yum,
more?
yum.
Need like
Need,
at least one more.
yeah.
Health potion for you.
Let's do top and bottom, I guess.
Okay. You can see before you broadcast onto the wall. Very interestingly, it is Zinni, but it's an old version of it. Probably stemming from before the monastery. Even the underparts of the beams of the basement of the halls of Dharma have a little bit of graffiti, and it is not as old as that. It's old enough so that you cannot read it, but Heinrich can.
Yep.
Heinrich, you see first
off.
what would really draw your attention. The mountain. No. This right here. The series of mountainous peaks. You could see these strange sort of characters reshape and twist, and they read Citadel Taram. And the word Taram kind of shifts around, and it reads the Citadel of Doom.
Well, that sucks.
Above it, right below it, you can see this large sort of pillar-like structure with what seems to be like a beam going up into clouds. And around that, you can see it becomes the Citadel of Cold. For a brief moment, you see it reads the Citadel Ersatz. And then the word cold seems to shift. And then all of a sudden it says the false Citadel. And it seems to revert back. For all of you, you're just seeing symbols.
I'm pretending
So
like I can
cold
read
and
them.
then false and then back to cold.
Yes. You can see to the right, all the way out here, you can just see the word Citadel. And then down in this little kind of like brick building structure is very simple. And Gunter, your eyes are drawn to this
Oh,
as well.
he's not here.
You're not-
He's not here.
Dang.
Still not
Okay. You
Shit. I'll
see-
relay it to him later, though. Thanks. I'm just
All right,
kidding.
you get one.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You can read, it just says Citadel less.
Less or
Yes.
Citadel-less, like
Citadel,
as in
without Citadel.
without Citadel, yeah.
And then you can see below the compass, and this would ring a bell for you, the Citadel of Salt, which was briefly referenced to you by the dwarf in that very same bar. It is the home of the Anacrean Alliance, currently. And looking at this now, you would recognize this is all laid out as if it were across Dominion. Yeah, it very much would line up.
Like
with that.
overlay this on a map, kind of.
Probably could.
Getting the, not this book, the other book out, and just, can you hold this here?
Yes.
I would very much like to transcribe this, if that's okay.
She takes her hand away from the lens and it remains. She continues to hold out her hand with the light.
And I,
Sure, you draw it. You can keep that map.
sweet. So, Citadel of Doom, but of Taram. Citadel.
It'll be on
Citadel.
the wiki.
Okay.
I was
All-
gonna just write it. You have a pencil. You can erase it.
That's true.
That's your copy
feel
now.
free to write
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
It's yours. You do with it what you want. She already is producing
Smoke it.
another.
Roll it up, smoke it. Get all
He's
shitty, Del.
smoking tobacco. I'm just like,
Just getting all shitty, Del.
I mean, you do smell tobacco. Gamble is still with you, and he has been
Yeah.
smoking this pipe the whole time.
oh, yo, I saddle up next to him. Get another poof.
Be like, yeah, I don't have a
Another
path.
Can
I don't
I-
have.
yeah.
Wait. You don't have a path, but you can totally take a poof. I don't say that.
Anyways,
Joe, he said it.
No, I didn't.
Joe,
you said it.
you heard him.
She holds out another piece of glass. And this one, as she puts it in front of the first that floats just by itself. It's not this one, right? Oh, it is this one.
Oh, you tea-weathered one, huh?
Yeah, because originally there's another way you could have found this, but it was almost 6 months ago.
Yeah, well.
Less tea-weathered. And less cut up and weird. If you guys want to put that out.
What do you want to just take this?
I'm
It
just
is a
going to
map
align it,
of
right?
Dominion, and your eyes begin to shift these celestial symbols around. You can read down by Sunrest, the Pillar of Scales. And your eyes immediately flicker up to the one located really close to where you guys are in the north.
Yep.
It reads the Pillar of the Mind.
Which obviously is the purple dragon lady. Can't fucking remember her name. I
I
wrote
mean,
it down.
you can definitely draw that conclusion.
I will firmly draw that conclusion.
You pull out my
Not
key for this map.
necessarily.
Okay, fine, because of your thing too. So maybe the dragon is because of your thing, or your thing's because of the dragon.
So, and as these things begin to come together, you can see there's a couple of different things.
Yeah.
What
did what's the other one say? That's what you're doing?
Yeah.
Cool.
So there are a lot of words, not all of them, over things that say pillar.
Mm-hmm.
You can see over on the far, for you, what would be
I'm going to point to
the
this
west? Okay, you're going to point to that one?
Let's do this one.
That simply says... Hang on, I gotta look. It's hard because of the way I took this picture.
It's got a moon.
It's got a moon.
A moon with a dual beam, a single beam,
Yeah,
and a dual beam.
that would be the pillar of life.
Okay. So we got scales, mind, life.
And I would say, based on what Heinrich knows,
Uh-huh.
that's right in the middle of the gated swamp, or the gated marsh, rather.
Oh, shit. Near 1,000 gates.
Near 1,000 gates. And you can actually
Fuck
see,
me.
I think 1,000 gates may be on there.
Maybe like that.
That's Mudtown, I believe, and I think that's a
Yeah.
common. And yeah, but you also can see down. Where else are you looking?
Next one up there, I guess. Well, because there's nothing else, right? It's like
And you
it's started.
would imagine that not terribly far off from Dungannon, actually, where it's located on the map.
Wait, are we all looking at this?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a
Dungannon!
broadcast
It's
up
currently
in the wall.
overlaid on the other one.
And where
Point it.
Morwen points to, like, Dungannon,
Uh-huh.
you can see that there is it also has the word pillar, and this is Pillar of the Weird.
That's fitting.
Of the weird.
Yes.
Does that, just because it's not Stitch Sorcery, but the Unchained or Broken Sorcerer
The
or
broken
whatever?
sorcerer, yep.
Yeah. Would that, like, anything?
Make an intelligence check.
So this map, like, literally
That's a
is
fucking
laid out.
Yes.
20.
It's like up
Dirty
on the wall.
20.
Dirty 20?
Heinrich, what does it say? I'm
That one
pointing at
says
Dungan.
Pillar of the Weird.
Oh, that makes sense. Kind of offensive.
Dungannon weird.
You
In a good way.
Uh-huh. Well, knowing that,
Drawing
like,
the-
Stitch Sorcery from
Yeah.
I mean, Scales and Stitch, not necessarily, but, like, sources of magic points on a map, this huge, powerful shit that we saw, were near, kind of drawn all those conclusions
and you
together.
begin to you begin to draw points together, and you're realizing, looking at these pillars, and recognizing a little bit because you've been to one of them. It seems like they have broad effects beyond just sort of like this dragon casting,
Sure.
this ability to manipulate dreams. Broader and longer lasting, enough to change the environment, perhaps to change perhaps how people use magic, perhaps change the way that the weave itself affects the place around it. It certainly seems like that's a possibility.
May I? Are these like literal pillars?
You don't know. It just says
We've seen one, and that's it.
Like
Which
the
is
Bernal.
The pillar scales. The crystal pillar that...
In the
that-
heart.
Have I don't. Have I seen that? In
yeah, it was right behind Bernal as he cut off.
No, in Dungannon.
Oh no, nothing like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
and
Then
then
I'm
the
just
final one, I
wagging my
guess.
tail.
Okay.
And then the final one right north of that.
Which is all the way up, and you would recognize. Or sorry, this is the Pillar of the Weird.
Oh, and that's where Dungannon is.
My mistake. The one down does not say pillar.
Okay.
That says the Obsidian Obelisk.
Okay. And I look to
Era.
Era, and I'm so bad with names in general.
Gamble?
Gamble.
Yeah.
Era and Gamble. Era and Gamble.
Yep.
I'm like, can you guys read those words?
Gamble squints at it and says, "Like I said, it's celestial. It's not something that I'm fluent
Right.
in. I could pick up a seventh language though." And
Era-
Era, also not one of mine, but I have read it. I have ways.
I'm just like, oh, do any of these names mean anything? And I just repeat them to them, like pointing and saying it.
Era pulls both of those slides, we'll call them,
Sure.
away.
After I've already transcribed the second one too, obviously.
Yeah, and she puts them back into her pockets, in separate pockets actually, and from her breast pocket pulls out a last one, presumably. Puts it in front of the little, puts it where the old one was, and removes her hand, and it stays. And she casts the light out. And you can see on the wall words. These are in Zinyi. you see all of a sudden just this whole mass, and
That's a lot of text.
it's like a book's worth of text on this wall, all very fine, and it all just begins to shift and turn and becomes common. And the two of you read what is essentially a little bit of a history between the ages. There is a blue star that appears in the sky, a Aurelian star, and it heralds the end of an age. Aurelian, it would tell you, is the god of life, the first god. The god that, if I remember correctly, Cord, Alchronos, and two others that are slipping my mind right now,
Check the wiki.
call father. I think it actually may be on the wiki already.
Already, yeah.
Yep. Because this is like creation myth stuff.
Sure.
When the star appears, it brings back the life that it's created before. It awakens things that have slept. Even its appearance brings things back that have been gone for a long time. But its appearance itself does not awaken these pillars. The star casts down something called the Claw of Aurelian, shards of this crystal. Where they land, they spread a corrupting influence that pulls sentient creatures towards it, warps their minds to bring them closer to the pillar itself. When this bearer draws close enough, the pillar will possess it. Using powerful artifacts, it's able to be unlocked, and then the life that it drew forth originally is released back into the world. When these pillars are all brought up, the next life form will appear, will be brought by Aurelian to Alberon. The other creatures now awaken, dragons, giants, the sentient races. As it appears, there are more than 3 pillars. But all of these creatures that have existed on Alberon before come back as a sort of trial by fire. Can this new life form surpass the previous ones? And you would get the sense that this entire thing is almost this god of life just trying to build upon the last thing. And you're beginning to get the picture that you really are potentially at the end of the world.
And also the claw and hand, thumb, fingers. Cool. Shit. How does this help you read Celestial?
Sorry?
How does this help you read Celestial? I ask.
This is not how I read Celestial.
Heinrich, you should share the prophecy with Era.
I've read this, actually.
Have you?
Yes.
Oh.
So, you would see why I am very interested in the apparent extension of a celestial body.
Do you think that they're warring for our age's creatures? Or at least trying to help to
The third age.
prolong our life, if you get my meaning?
The third age is the place that many of these gods draw their power from. Helm,
Were they not around prior?
Melora. Many of them, no.
Okay.
Gods are not
So
often
it's-
immortal,
Their self-preservation as well.
it would seem.
Huh. Well, I hoped they picked the right team. I look around to us, I'm like, haha, shit.
What?
Long story. I mean, long story. I point to the writing.
Dungannon?
No, it's not up there anymore, just the writing.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll catch you up. Fuck.
Is it a projection?
Yes, essentially. It is like an overhead projector,
I'm
but
gonna,
magic.
Hand puppet.
You see these large shadowy paws go up into the air. I believe that you fit into this as well.
Oh, tell me more.
You are not from here. The thing which Shay now possesses, the binder, I imagine where it opened, it could hold you as well.
Like a hug?
I think you come from far away.
How far?
You could walk the length of Alberon and never find your home.
Do you know where my home is?
No. But there is a reason people leave.
It wasn't by choice.
Are you sure?
I don't know.
I think that you are in the right place. For now.
Okay, good.
She gives like a very soft smile. So even Era kind of disarmed by this
Yeah.
sort of fuzzy, positive.
I would say, like, for what
thing.
it's worth, I do too.
No.
Yeah.
Shut up. No, I'm just kidding.
You saved me as much as I've
Shay.
helped
No.
you.
Yes.
You will notice
I
one
have.
of these pillars
Maybe
is
more.
very close to here.
Yes.
I have a sense. I think it is here.
Here.
I think the pillar of the mind exists somewhere beneath the halls of Dharma.
Interesting.
Would that mean we wouldn't need to go to Kulturam?
We have to go to Kulturam.
No.
If we do not go to Kulturam, if we do not stop Kindscale,
The dragon still exists. The shard
That's
is
true.
still there.
That's
and
true.
I fear
Couldn't
if the
destroy
dragon
shard.
has the shard, it will
I see.
eventually be brought here.
I understand.
We're essentially fighting two battles. The dragon and ourselves.
You mean your splintered faction?
I would imagine there's more than two sides to this battle.
Yeah, all
For the
forms of
moment.
life,
For this
by the
pillar,
sound of it.
I meant.
Don't discount Jeruxa.
Yes.
He is dangerous and he is missing.
Wild card. The other piece I have not yet shared with my friends.
Thank you. While this is all happening,
Yeah.
Yeah, what? Gunter's in jail. What's up?
you are walking away from Squall's End now, right at the edge, or the end of Hawker's Row.
All of the stores shuddering behind you.
Like, I'm gonna look for someone to get Zinyi Monk's robes from.
Okay. Casting your gaze about, make a perception check.
Good luck.
I'm so nervous you're going to be like, hey, come over here. I saw such...
19. Oh, wait. I have disadvantage. 19.
Okay.
Still.
Oh, good job.
Looking for some kind of a place. You do see there are Zinni monks walking around, but you also kind of feel your face where fresh bruises forming from Shay. And, you know, maybe you could steal them from them, but there will be consequences. As you're looking around, you do also notice that there is a two-story building that reads Tapestry Unwoven. And looking within the windows, you can see there's a lot of cloth within this building. There's what looks like three women who are manipulating it and kind of stacking it and folding it. They seem to be related. Looking at them, they are three humans, probably sisters, all with black hair, kind of greasier than most.
I'm gonna go in and
Okay. You open the door and the warm air kind of rushes to greet you, and at the same time, the larger of the three,
didn't get the. I said, I hope they didn't get the.
the larger of the three comes out. Oh, terribly sorry. We're closed.
Oh,
And you can see there are like other people in the store. It's an interviewing process, and she's kind of like pushing you out now.
I was just hoping to get some of the cloth right.
Unfortunately, it's out of stock, and she kind of
but
gets you behind the
you
door.
couldn't kick an old, tired dwarf to the streets.
I would never, but I'm not kicking you. And she shuts the door.
Just thaumaturgy, I need some clothes.
no.
I don't think that's gonna help.
Gunter's going for.
Excuse me. And you can see the youngest one now kind of peering out from a side door. She looks and softly closes it. I couldn't help but overhear you needed something.
Oh yeah, I was just looking for some robes for the monastery. I want to look my best when I return.
Well, we only really sell or trade for cloth that is unmade into things.
Oh, well, I would be willing to trade to have it prepared, or I've been working a little bit myself on my needlework, so perhaps if you could guide me through it, I would be able to.
And she looks around a little bit. Don't tell my sisters, but
Never.
I can make clothing. I'm quite good at it.
Oh.
But if we were to offer this as a service, they would get a percentage of it. They don't do much of the work. So
Let's just keep it between me and you.
that's what I was thinking, yes. You said you want zingy robes.
Yes.
This,
Something modest.
can I ask why?
Well, I am traveling with one of my Zinyi monastery friends. We have important business, but I have forgotten my robes, and I want to present myself appropriately for returning to such a hallowed place.
Make a deception check. Make it at advantage, so flat.
Okay.
Oh, jeez.
That laugh is not good coming from him.
That is a very noble thing to do, to be so open-minded to change. One moment. And she disappears into the door, shuts it behind her. A little bit of time goes by. 10 minutes pass. 20 minutes pass. About 25 minutes pass, and the door creaks open, and you can see her look around. Come here. And she slides, like just between the door crack, this little parcel of carefully wrapped brown paper, little white string.
Okay.
And she passes it to you.
I'm gonna take it.
Thank you. What can I offer you in return?
Maybe I'll need a favor later if you're going to be around.
I can't say that I will. I must be going where to deal with the Koltaran issue.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
It is.
Well, if you ever return and you need, and you happen to find me in need,
I will be sure to do my best.
she holds out like a tiny little hand. It's a deal. And she kind of vanishes.
Fucking laugh.
I'm putting on new digs.
Okay. In the middle of the street, you begin to take off your clothes.
No, I'd like to get into the little
Go
alley.
behind at least.
You find a place that's relatively out of sight, and you change into
I thought we
these
were at like the back door.
fairly, no, it's like a side door, but fairly pale blue zingy robes. And there is even like a little bit of a pattern around the hem. It's like orange stars that seem to almost twist and turn as the fabric does. Simple, but very well made
Awesome.
and very quickly made.
Fantastic.
You are now a zingy monk dressed Gunter.
Because
What?
that's not
New
What
costume.
would you like to do?
I'm making my way to where I think the monastery is, given where we were headed before.
Okay. You begin to shuffle back to the monastery. We're going to get back to that. So, if you intend to go to Koltaram, I think it is in everybody's best interest. We've given you, and she turns to Gamble, and Gamble kind of nods. We've given you some things to take on your way. Is there other things that you need?
I think the less we bring, the better.
How do you think you will get into Koltaram?
We found a journal on our travels detailing a subterranean entrance.
Gamble pipes up. The Undercity. I've been there in my travels within Koltaram. You would remember. I've spent quite a good time there.
I remember the stories.
The dwarves were a little stuck up, I will say. But the Undercity you could do. It is dangerous in the best of circumstances, and these are not the best of circumstances. There are a few other ways. There is the main gate, of course, but I can't recommend that. And then you could... I've heard that there is passages throughout the mountain to get into various rings of Kulturam. I don't know where any of them are myself. But within Kulturam, I wasn't always on the straight and narrow, and from time to time we needed materials we couldn't get.
I remember the stories, and I use the Zinni term for uncle.
Yes, and he nods and says, yes, so the rat tunnels, should you find them, may be a very valuable resource in moving about unseen.
I'll keep that in mind.
I do know one of the entrances, but it would be hard to get to, I think. Above the gate of Kulturam, hard to see from the ground, but easy enough from the sky. There is a passageway that will lead in, but it is in plain sight of the gate.
Okay. I guess we'll see what our options are available to us when we get there.
And Gamble pipes up. Again, Shay, I would not recommend the Undercity.
Okay.
I'm sure it's open because it will be the last place that they conquer. There are criminal elements there that are quite strong.
Sure.
I actually take some solace in that, which is weird considering some of the run-ins. And he's like smoking the pipe now, and he's kind of like drifting off into thought. But Era turns to all of you, the two of you. Is there anything that you require before you set off on this journey?
Do you guys brew potions of healing? Point blank. Sorry.
Do you brew? That is a quaint term. We could get you some potions of healing, yes.
Yeah, just really anything. If it's a fight we're up against, anything in that direction of prolonging our lives.
Make a persuasion check. And make it at advantage because you are with Shay.
That's a... One was an 8, one was an 18. So persuasion is 23.
We will gather some supplies for you.
It is greatly appreciated.
Gamble smiles, and both of them turn to Shay. When Era says, the Gesundheit.
Inzinu.
Yep.
Yeah, Inzi.
Yep.
It's still Gesundheit, yeah.
Yeah.
In all languages, weirdly.
True. True.
Yeah, even those without gods and blessing.
Yeah.
But you
Well, it's
you
fair
see
'cause
they both smile at Shay.
Gesundheit means health, but continue.
Yes.
Era turns and says, you've kept Era safe. And for that, gratitude does not begin to express my feelings. Please continue to keep her
Shay.
Shay. I said Shay.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Please continue to keep her safe. That is beyond payment enough.
How do you think Kraddock would express his feelings about keeping Shay safe?
It sounds like he's not well.
You haven't seen Kraddock yet.
No, we haven't.
We
He
were...
returned about a week ago. He had been traveling. He'd been scouting for us. I had actually sent him to the Squall to see if the rumors of giants are true. When he returned, he said, and we now know, that these beasts, wyverns, suddenly descended, almost 5 or 6 of them. We've never seen these here before.
There's 4 now.
Oh yeah, we killed a few.
Well, that's great news. I don't know that Kraddock saw all of them. There are varying reports. But thank you. That is no easy feat. Kraddock landed. The sky too dangerous for him, which he did not enjoy. But upon passing by Kulturam, he smelled smoke. And so he went to investigate, and he says, I will not repeat what he says, but what has happened there is terrible.
Doom seems an appropriate name.
Yes, I believe.
Kulturam has never been a place of light.
Well, if it's under the mountain.
It has a cursed history. More so than just this. For as long as time has been counted and as long as Coltron has stood. Some 600 years. It has never been a place that is safe for long or prosperous enough. There is something wrong with it.
Yeah. Questions, but not really important.
When do you intend to leave?
I switch into Zinyi. I have things that I must attend to. I believe my friends will leave sooner than I will.
I would encourage you to travel together.
I'm aware.
Shay, you have always been a loner. I hold myself responsible for that partially. I should have spoken harshly to your mother. I should have kept her here. And for that I will always be sorry. But at some point, your path will bring you to a place where others are needed to weave the quilt that you will one day create.
Our
I
paths
know.
are our own.
When everything begins to end, even that which frays must find purchase.
I'm not going alone.
You'll never be alone.
I am honor
These,
bound to both here and them, and I will do the service I am due to both.
sometimes, when a path comes to a place where it splits, even you won't be able to walk both.
This I'm aware.
I don't think you are. She draws away a little bit, and there is an element of sadness, and you know that she's not telling you everything, but you also know that she's not going to. You've seen this expression enough. She switches back to common. Shay tells me that you will probably be leaving shortly. Together.
Once we collect our fourth.
You have a fourth member.
Yeah.
That is
She
good.
mentioned it was he wouldn't have done well here. Would have been a little
Is he large or?
You have no faith.
rough around the edges.
Okay. I will trust your judgment. I do not know this individual. But again, if
I
you
smile
would
and
like-
nod.
An old dwarf, reminiscent of Drugs.
287.
There's a moment where you do see this very serene expression kind of falter for just a moment. Then in Zinyi, she says, like Juruxa.
Jesus.
I will not tell you how to walk your path, but please learn from the mistakes that I have made walking mine.
Yes.
When you all leave, and she switches now to common, we will have things ready for you. Please see to this, Master Gamble. And he smiles and just kind of nods. For Shay, of course, anything I can do. You said potions of healing. I think
At
I
least-
have just the thing.
At least that, and maybe nothing that will explode and kill us.
He looks...
And I
almo-
tap
he,
the ring. I'm like,
He has like this fake, almost like,
1d1.
me, I would never. And
1
you can
point
see,
of
even as he
force,
does this,
2 point of force, 3 point of
even
force.
as he
attack
does this,
times.
he's missing like 3 fingers.
Yeah.
And he kind of smiles
Keep
and
it
says,
simple.
It's a potion. It's not mechanical. It's okay.
Okay.
He takes a long draw from the pipe and returns. Shay, before you leave, just stop off and I'll have some things for you.
Absolutely.
And he makes his way.
Might I
stops.
also request one more time? We barely made it here climbing. Is there... And the path we took was the easiest one, you think?
It was a path.
Why did you climb?
Well, the way we were heading was from, and I kind of, well, I don't even know, honestly, never been this far, but if we are to need the,
In Sydney, they're not athletic enough to take the God Walk.
And Zinni says, even I can take the God Walk.
And Zingy. No, I'm just kidding.
Would that be crazy?
Plot twist.
Yeah,
my,
that's unfortunate. He turns to you and comments says, Shay
Assistance
tells me
getting
that
down.
you're fine climbers on your own, but assistance is always good in these parts.
it's okay. You don't have to. I know, Shay. It's fine. Don't sweeten it. We sucked.
Shay informs me that you could use some improvement on your
Yeah,
climbing
there you
skills.
go.
And so,
The truth will out, and here it is. That's fine.
how long will you all be staying? I don't think I have anything on hand, but I'm a handy inventor. I can certainly
I
come up
don't
with
know.
something to mimic claws, or perhaps
The faster, the better. But
some kind of a mechanical rope. And he begins to kind of smoke on this pipe, and you can see that there are gears turning.
yeah, in the pipe,
In the
mechanical pipe.
Mechanical pipe. The water just
Yeah.
spurts out of it mechanically. Depending on how long you stay, maybe I could have something for that. But I don't know if gears would work for that. And he's like already turning and starting to walk back towards his
I'm gonna
workshop.
let him go to that.
And he disappears up the stairs.
Because it's more really about the pressure Gunter applies in
Sure.
my head. I'm thinking.
Where do you go now?
To Crodex.
She looks at Morin for a second. Be gentle with him.
Of course.
And she nods and she says in Zini some very familiar words to you. And just kind of turns and seems to regard the map.
In Zinye, I will return before this is over.
Okay. What are you guys doing?
You should find Gunter.
That's what I was gonna do. If you wanted to go see Croddock, I was just gonna go find Gunter.
I'm going to Crodex.
Yeah,
Okay.
I will
Whatever
attempt
the rest
to
of you would
collect
like to
the
do.
rest of our
I
party.
will give you
I gotcha.
directions if you wish to meet me there.
Sure, yeah. If I
Or
can
we
find him
can
and will him back,
At the Frostmere, that's your choice as well.
sure. Seems like an easy meeting place since I know where that is.
And it's
but
fairly
give,
central in the town too.
give me directions to where you're going to in case it's close to where I find Gunter, because I'm sure he hasn't wandered far.
She gives you directions that are basically from where you guys are. It's south a little bit, and then you turn left,
So west.
east, because you're going south, and then you turn
Oh, if I'm
left to
headed-
east. Down this small path and into like a little neighborhood of smaller houses. Still very, very fine craftsmanship. And then you take off for Croddock's house. You follow,
Hell yeah.
and you are heading to find Gunter.
I'm assuming marketplace.
Okay.
Honestly, that
you-
seems the most logical place to find
Be
someone
nice to him.
who's
You
going to be
all
scheming.
emerge into the light. The sort of gray. It is a gray sky, but based
I put
on where
on
you were,
sunglasses.
it is very bright.
Yeah.
The two of you head off after explaining to Heinrich where you were going. But Heinrich, as you consider where Gunter might be and you begin to head towards the market, you are approached by a strange, hooded, shorter figure in pale blue. And because it is past midnight, that is where we're going to end for the evening.
Oh no!
So,
Oh no!
thank you very much.
I can't wait for
tuning in.
Fuck you! At the beginning of that
Episode
section.
27, where we never reached the Broken Birds, so we'll have to rename it. But
What?
yeah, thank you guys very much for tuning in to this this time in Squall's End. A lot of stuff getting dropped.
So
for
much
this evening.
stuff. So much stuff.
It'll be really interesting to see how that matches up with the prophecy you guys got at the very beginning of the session.
I know.
Too, which I should put on the wiki.
Beginning of the session, beginning of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole thing.
That one.
So thank you guys very much for joining in. We will be back here next week for episode 28, which I'm going to have to rename now as well, but we'll get there. So we'll see you next week, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, only on twitch.tv/AlberonRPG. Have a good evening.
Yeah.
We'll see you.
Bye.